All right, let's see if we're streaming.
Oh. My layout is all... I'm like, still have never gotten the perfect layout, but with like doing the hosting stuff, it then changes stuff again. You're like, oh, I need to be looking at the run sheet more than I do normally. So it's like, it then changes stuff again.
All right, we're live, dudes.
Cool. Did you know I'm getting a new monitor? Swinny?
Oh, that was a work thing. That wasn't for,
I thought we were
this.
going to use it
No,
for
no.
Also,
general stuff.
I think
That
that's
was-
like weird timing. Okay, let's have a chat about that now. We're ready to
Remember
go.
that chat was specifically, I'm getting a work monitor. That's why I didn't want to spend like a ridiculous amount.
okay.
Anyway, cool.
All right, you ready to go, Swinny?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Big Week in Gaming podcast. And what do you know? It's been a big week in gaming. I'm Swinny for episode 99 for this Sunday, the 9th of October, 2022. So what are we chatting about this week? We're chatting about, surprise, surprise, the Super Mario movie trailer. And what do we think about it? Overwatch 2 launches with some impressions and some controversy maybe. Analogue Pocket cores are getting DRM. What? Intergod will fill us in on the details with that. And we check in on how our 2022 gaming resolutions are tracking. So if you'd like to support the show, we'd love to get you to subscribe on YouTube or your favorite podcast app. If you're a mega fan, come join us in the Discord. All the links are in the description below or at bigwigpod.com. Joining us today, as usual, is our executive producer, Intergod.
Hello, hello.
And Mike.
Oh, hi. No title for me.
Yeah, I don't have a
I
title
used to
for
be
you.
the interrupter in chief.
Yeah, I thought about putting that back in, but then I'm like, that's just going to start creeping up. That's going to be like a slippery slope again to our crazy intros we used to have, which part of me does miss them. So maybe we'll have to come up with a new title for you, Mike. You used to be the host, but now you're like,
I got
what
demoted.
what do you
to
do?
Just Mike. I'm just Mike.
We actually need to
The mic.
like go through
And
because
crazy
next week's 100 episodes, right? So
Yeah.
we should actually be like, I've been on every episode because you guys don't want to run the show without me, given the
I think
producer role.
it's not so much a
We don't know
don't. I
how.
think it's
Yeah,
a mix of laziness and incapable.
I thought it was also you're gonna
legit
go.
don't know
It's like it's not anything to do with you. It's only you know how to turn it on. But we
You
need
know how
that.
to do the fancy stuff.
Yeah, we need that Wikipedia thing, you know, where they have the bands and they go, these are the people who've been in the bands for how long and everything like that. Like when did Mike come on? Who was hosting? When it's like when the lead singer changed or something. Very Pink Floyd style band. Actually, when I
I've
think about
only
it.
missed one episode. I've missed.
Oh,
there were
is that right?
two.
I know you're
Yeah,
in
there
the
were two.
hospital.
I think it was... Yeah,
I
it
thought it was
was one.
two. I thought it was two.
No, there was one. There was one episode, but there were two live reactions I didn't do. So there was like a Game Awards and a State of Play, a live
Yeah,
reaction
but I
that
think
you guys
it's
did.
the episodes that count
Yeah,
the most.
the one episodes, but I mean, I can't miss. I can't compare to 100% attendance.
100%
like Mr.
strike rate,
Intergod.
yeah. Actually, that I didn't think about that as well. We've done a whole bunch of reactions. So I've done all of the reactions as well, obviously.
You've done everything, man.
Hey, you know what? Can I just bring up, given that we're in the banter before we go into the show, you know, like we're having this argument post-show around titling last week's show, which I think it was a very good title in the end, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
And like we won't go through all the discussion, right? But I just want to say, because Swinny handled the clips and the upload, all that stuff this week. when I logged into my YouTube and saw the dictator of Saudi Arabia in the thumbnail, I was like, oh,
Yeah.
I was like literally thinking about changing it myself.
I did my research. There's his face is on thousands of thumbnails. So
Okay. So
yeah,
we're not going to
yeah.
be targeted or.
No, it's MBS. Man, he's got a
Too
big
much.
ego. He's got a big ego, man.
does
Like
have a big ego.
it's not like a photoshopped him devil horns or anything.
No, but you know, part of it, Swinny, for me is because like we do this show just kind of like as a catch up almost, and then you know randomly we'll talk about Duke Nukem, and then the guy who creates Duke Nukem starts talking to us,
Yeah,
right?
I mentioned
in the
this,
comments. So we often talk as if we're talking to a vacuum, and then people actually talk back to us. And I just think with this dude, if there's one dude, I don't think we should cross. It's probably him.
Probably.
So,
But what if he turns around and he goes, "Listen, boys, I've got
Great
an
shot,
offer
boys."
for you. I want to import you guys over here. And I'm going to pay you $500,000 each.
You just have to
Per
come to the
year
embassy.
to
You have to
do a
come to the
podcast
embassy.
for gaming.
You have to come to the
Yeah,
embassy.
yeah,
to get-
exactly. There's nothing dodgy about it, boys.
Oh.
Just come to the embassy. Bring your phone or not, whatever.
Look, I ran through a lot of those scenarios in my head when I created that thumbnail. So don't. I thought of that as well.
But this is what I love about your risk aversion. You're like, it's worth risking our lives for a thumbnail in our show. I did like that. That did make me laugh. But I do feel a bit comforted that you're saying he's in other thumbnails.
Heaps, man. Like that's why I looked
Yeah,
it
but
up.
all
I'm
those
like,
people are dead. Hey, did my stream
Oh,
just die?
look, yeah, you're
Oh,
dead.
he's coming. It's already happening.
Mike's gone.
No, hey, what?
Wait, did you do that?
No, I didn't. Can you guys still hear me though?
I thought it was Mike who did it.
Hey, I'm back. Woo. Wait,
He's
did you
sending a
cut me
signal,
out?
dude. He's sending a signal. I'm telling you. All right, MBS, we're changing the thumbnail as we speak.
Oh man, the timing.
Wow,
on that.
what the
Wow.
hell even happened? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you hear
What
us?
the hell even Yeah, I could hear it perfectly fine the whole time. I just couldn't see my stream. It just froze all of a sudden. It went black.
Oh man.
That is kind of spooky, actually.
Wow. That's extremely
I like how
spooky.
we're all
That
laughing
never
about it. And he's like,
happens.
these fuckers don't like know my power.
Never. That has never ever happened. I'm not crossing this guy just in case. Fuck that.
Yeah, tell me your opinion about him again, Mike.
Oh, I love him to bits. He's the best. Oh,
All right. But just to go down this dangerous road again, I did decide during the week, I'm like, you know what? If they buy a publisher, I'm not going to get any games from that publisher anymore. Not that it's a boycott, but it's basically a boycott.
that's a boycott.
So
Yeah.
the
Oh,
question
look, we're
is,
getting hard in the chat. Look at this.
What's going on in the chat?
the question is always,
69mega.com, future is here, dating AI.
wow,
Oh,
it's all man.
He's coming up.
What is going on? What is going on? How many windows?
84% match.
How many windows can go? Because like, can you eventually cover Mike's face with those chat windows?
No, I can show you. It's up to his mouth.
Oh
Up to
damn!
his mouth. And then it's got a bit of a fade on it. I've blocked that user. Sorry, 69mega.com.
Oh, but it had an 84% chance strike rate.
Oh
thing.
man, I can't. Part of me almost wants to go to 69mega.com right now. But,
Go,
but,
go
I,
do it.
but,
I
I
wanna
need
go
to,
do
but
it.
I need to host the show.
I'll
so-
bring it up on the stream. We'll go.
Okay, all right. Well, that was fun.
a disaster.
Intergot.
Yes.
What have you been up to this week?
Or what have I been playing? Or
Or up to? It's up to you. You can
Okay.
talk about anything you want. There's no laws now.
there's no
You
laws.
didn't really play much this
we're
week,
broken.
did you?
Just a couple of things. I actually injured myself, my wrist, playing Splatoon 3.
What?
So I've like laid off it a little bit. Like I still played it a bit, but like the thing is, some of the
About
weapons
half
you
an hour
have to
less.
keep pressing the button to activate
Man.
the firing. So I think I need to avoid those weapons seriously.
Dude, you're like you're catching up to me now.
Yeah, I was going to say, did
This
you learn
old age.
nothing from
This old
Sweeney?
age.
No,
Old age is feeling it in the hands.
but that's pretty common if you like, even with younger people, if you're playing something too much and everything like that.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, Picross as always. One thing is, I don't know if you guys ever see Skill Up, the reviewer, the Aussie.
Yes.
He's an Aussie guy
Yeah.
actually. I do think like most of the time where he's based or like his views on stuff, I'm like, yeah, it's pretty similar to me. He played Gotham Knights. And it was a bit like, yeah, like it's okay and everything. And I'm like, okay, cancel pre-order. Like, I had a cheap pre-order on
Damn.
Amazon, and I'm like, I just know it's going to be one of those games that's like maybe like a 79 or something like that. It's just I don't have time, especially with around that time with like Bayonetta 3, Mario Rabbids 2, and then God of War 2/5. So
It kind of feels like the game that they will improve a bit after launch as well. Like it just feels like that kind of game. So
yeah,
I have
and
no idea to base that off anything. It's just a feeling.
I agree. And I think also that's the kind of game that will get discounted or end up on like a billion different versions of Game Pass or PlayStation Plus and all that stuff. So I think I'll just chill on
Hopefully.
it. The other one is I played Overwatch 2,
Cool.
which like was
do you think?
so weird, right? Like you go install Overwatch 2 and installs in program files /Overwatch. Right? Like it's like they don't even believe that it's Overwatch 2. And like there's other stuff in it where it just says Overwatch. And I'm like, I don't know why I think that's so weird, but I think it is really weird. The fact that Overwatch 1 was promised to be playable along with Overwatch 2 and then they just terminated Overwatch 1 is like also super
Well, they didn't
weird.
terminate Overwatch 1 because
They did.
it's technically still Overwatch 1.
Wow, yeah. But
Look, we've got a whole new segment just for anyone.
yeah,
as
sure,
well
sure,
about
sure. I
this
won't go
stuff,
into it
so-
further. Yeah, we'll jump.
I
into
mean,
it
give
also.
impressions. Of course.
No. I'll talk about it then. That's a good point. And the last thing, just briefly, is like I just fired up Diablo 3 because I didn't realize you could play for free up to a certain point. So I'm like, I've actually
know
never
that either,
really
actually.
played Diablo apart from Diablo Immortal, which is probably not a good first experience. And like, this is the ultra dumb question, Mike, because I know you're like the big fan of it on PC.
X-fan, yeah.
So I booted up, and then I start moving the WASD key stuff. And I'm like, what the fuck's going on? I can't move or anything. And I'm like, what? Like and then I started doing like the arrow keys. I'm like, is this fucking an old school game like got arrow keys or some shit?
Nope.
I'm like, wait, you have to click the mouse everywhere to move? I'm like, what?
Yep.
It actually
Unless,
blew me away.
unless you're playing on console.
Sure, yeah, but I
Yeah, but
it's
that's
not a
how
console
Diablo
game
has
for me.
always been.
No,
Diablo
Diablo 3 on console was amazing. It's one of the
Yeah.
best PC ports ever.
really, really good.
Sure, I know, but it's in
But-
my mind. It's like playing FPSs on a
No, it's
on a
actually I was
console. I can't do it.
I was surprised Immortal
surprised, yeah.
had WASD.
Yes, 'cause Immortal
before
did.
that had it. Yeah, that was
Exactly.
the only one that did, which
Yeah.
is weird because that was ported from a mobile. So maybe I can kind of see why that was because on mobile you got like the stick
Yeah.
instead of WASD. But none of the Diablos ever had WASD.
So I
as
thought
far
that
as
was
I
weird
recall.
at first, and then I started
like-
playing it a bit, and I'm like, I can super understand how this game's super addictive.
Well,
Like I was like, I guarantee we'll buy Diablo 4 on day one.
Trust me,
playing-
Diego, like the console controls that they did for that it's almost like crazy how well they did it. Because
Really
that's
well,
why
yeah.
even like playing on something like Switch, I don't know performance wise, but would even be great
Yeah,
on
it
Switch just
actually
because
wasn't too
of
bad on
how
Switch,
well it translates. And I can't remember on the PC. Did the PC have the dodge, or did they add that for the controller option?
I haven't got up to a bit where I've had to
Like
dodge
the
or
because
anything.
it really sounds like a roll dodge.
I
I,
don't
thought
remember
they only
dodging.
added
I
roll
don't. I
dodging.
don't.
I thought there
At
is
least
on
I'm not at that
console
point.
only, but I could be wrong.
Yeah,
but I think
Yeah, go on, Mike. Sorry.
No, I was gonna say you could tell because I remember talking about it when it came out on PC. The way it was set up and the way the skills were set up compared to previous games, it was designed with console in mind as well, and you could tell it was sort of ground up, designed with that, and that's why when it came out on console, I'm like, fuck, this actually works really, really well for a console game of this type. So
Yeah, just confirm.
really,
Yeah,
really
so
good.
they added a dodge roll in the console ports, so
Yeah,
that's why it
that's why I don't
also
remember it
feels
on-
really nice because of that. So
So it's funny. I kind of thought that they didn't do that with Diablo 3 and Mike. I thought like it came out on PC and then they were like they had to re-engineer some parts of the game to make it work for console.
No, it came out first on PC, but I just remember having conversations with, if you guys remember, the G-Man, about how something about it felt like it was designed to also be on consoles. They sort of simplified some of the skills, but yeah, it was. I mean, I don't know. It's an excellent game, and it's a Blizzard game. They polish everything. I did actually watch. I think what's the dude who does the videos of the Game Maker's Toolkit?
Mark Brown.
Yeah. He did a video fairly recently, I think, because I just watched it, I think, yesterday or something, about it featured Diablo and the health globes that get dropped in Diablo. 'Cause
Yeah, I
apparently
watched
they
that
tried
as
all
well.
sorts of different types of healing. And, they had one healing where the first time you hit the healing button or you chug the potion down, it would heal 100%, then 75%, then 50%, then 25%. But they realized that wasn't working anyway because people would keep spamming potions even if it's only 25% effectiveness. So they kind of played and iterated with all the ideas until they came up with the health globe things that get dropped by enemies. Oh, that was really cool. Interesting little design concept that you kind of don't think about it too much, but it works really, really well. So
Yeah. let's
it's a
talk
solid
about
game.
let's talk about other YouTube videos that we watched recently. But
Well, I thought it was relevant because it's a big part of how Diablo changed in that sense compared to
Yeah.
the previous titles.
Diablo is a little bit like Bloodborne for Swinny. It's like I've watched more about Diablo, the making of Diablo, the history of Diablo. Like I know the fact that Diablo 3 runs at 60 frames per second on the Switch, which is awesome, right?
It actually does.
Diablo
Holy shit, I didn't know
2
that.
Resurrected runs at 30.
Yes.
which is weird. So yeah, I think for me, I'll just go in on Diablo 4 and go on that little wave there. It feels like it's the same type of game each time, so
I might have to join you, but I worry, man. I worry, especially playing with other people. That's how you get hooked.
oh well, don't worry, we never play any co-op games, so we don't have
that's
to worry
true.
about that. So
But this is the one you don't want to end up playing co-op.
no, like I always have a limit. You know how I am. Like I go crazy for a period of time, but yeah,
Just to play.
yeah,
Rocket
like I can see how people get hooked on it. It's very just rhythmic, the game. Just like I was gonna only play it for like 5 or 10 minutes, and I played it for like a couple of hours, I think.
Damn.
So I was just like, no, I killed this. Oh yeah, get some more loot. Oh yeah, I better go get that loot. Oh, I better upgrade. And I'm like, oh man, I'm like getting sucked into this game. I gotta delete it. Yeah, but that's me. Mike, how about you? What have you been playing this week?
Yeah, not a hell of a lot, but one thing that I did play a bit of was Saints Row the Third on Switch, and it actually
Wait, what?
it actually plays really So it is on Switch.
Is that
yes.
one of the most random? Like I've just been playing this week. Like
Yeah, it is a bit random. And I played it. Oh gosh, I don't know how many hours. It was sort of a little bit on and off. But it surprisingly plays pretty well on Switch. I mean, it's an old 360 era game. I think, from memory. So
it did get a remaster on the generation after, but it's. I mean, that game's a lot of people like that game. So.
yeah, it's freaking awesome. So it's it comes from the generation where I think it probably would have been around GTA 4, which was a completely different kind of game. GTA 4, real kind of physics, a lot more realism in that sense, whereas this is over the top, crazy fun bullshit gameplay. And it's really fun, and the humor in it, I hate to admit, I actually don't mind it. Not all of it, but there's like some really dumb, funny parts.
It's your humor.
Maybe it's my humor. No, it's just there's a lot of childish, dumb shit in it, and I like it. It doesn't take itself seriously at all, which I think is really cool. And it runs okay-ish. It's actually it's got dynamic resolution, which you can switch on and off. So I played it a fair bit with dynamic resolution on, and you can really see it kicking in when you drive, especially above a certain speed, and things are kind of blurring past, and you can see the resolution kind of going lower. But you can switch it off, and performance-wise, it's actually not too bad. It's not, a perfect 60, but there are, because it also isn't locked at anything, because you can tell sometimes it feels like a 60, and then sometimes it feels like somewhere over 30, maybe a 40 or something. But it's decent. Like, it runs really, really well, and it's fun. And you guys have played Saints Row before, so
I've never played it.
you haven't. Okay, damn. It's if you find it cheap, worth picking up on the Switch. And it
Zero
also has
chance.
motion controls, which is really cool. Only when you like zoom in with the left trigger, it actually has motion controls for like more fidelity.
That feels a bit of a
works really
weird
well.
addition to add in a Switch port for Saints Row, like an old game. I don't know. Maybe that.
4 is out as well on the Switch.
Did Saints Row ever get a Wii U port? Or I'm just thinking,
No.
like, why would it have had motion controls added to it?
What game was that? There's some other game that sounds very similar to that. Like I think it even has the third in the title. I can't remember. The
Oh
name
no,
of it.
Devil's Third.
Yeah, Devil's Third. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it just feels weird, but I guess they thought, hey, if we add a new feature for the Switch version, then
Totally. Yeah.
get some new sales.
But it does actually work. Like they've done that with quite a few games, and people will go, "Oh, I better get that because it's got this extra
Yeah, it's
feature."
cool. I never
for a game love."
finished it. I mean, I didn't get it because of that feature or anything. I just thought, hey, it was cheap, and I thought it was like $7 or something.
I think
and I wanted to give it a crack and see what it's like on the Switch.
my chance of playing it, Mike, like I have played more of GTA 1 and 2 by far than GTA 3 or 4 or 5. There's like no chance I'm going to play a Saints Row game. Like that sense of humor is just nah. Sorry.
It's well, the thing
You're
about
not
it
gonna
is
win this
it's-
battle.
No, I'm not
It's
trying to win
it's-
any battle. I'm not. I'm just I'm trying to think about it because obviously I've my sense of humor and what I'm interested in and what I find funny in games has changed over the years as well. So, this game, I don't even remember when it came out. It's got to be 10 years plus, right?
It came out in 2011.
Yeah,
There
it
you
was
go,
received
2011.
well. Like I was actually shocked. It's like 80s, like low 80s. Like
Yeah,
pretty decent.
it's the kind of sense of humor that I guess I don't know if it'll pass nowadays either. But because it's so ridiculously over the top, stupid in so many ways, maybe.
I think that because like you remember that the new Saints Row game came out this year, just like a month or so ago,
I'm
or a
curious.
couple of months ago, and they didn't go with that style of sense of humor. 'Cause, obviously they're I think nervous about reception.
I could see how they,
But I
could
think
see how they would be totally nervous.
No, but I think they would actually do
This day
better
and
if
age.
they went against the grain, like they
It's
did
still
stuff.
it's still a ridiculous sense of humor, just not as far fetched. It's not as like Saints Row Third is when they started really going crazy with like
Aliens and
sci-fi,
shit,
Yeah.
So it's more grounded. It's still stupid. I think the main issue people had with that reboot is it apparently just was pretty bland and boring
And buggy
So,
as hell.
yeah. From what people said, I played it. I can't judge it.
I
so.
definitely won't play that. Like, I'd more likely to play Saints Row the Third. So, anything else, Mike?
I dabbled in a couple of little things.
Dabbled?
Continued
Little
a little bit more of Proteus. Not a lot, but again, awesome game. And it is actually on PC, as we talked about, but it wasn't available as part of the standard interface where you go to see the latest games that have
Yes.
been
Yeah, I
added to
know. I
Game
noticed
Pass,
that.
which
yeah.
is effing confusing
It's so
to
buggy.
me. That's why I didn't
It's
think
so
it was
buggy.
on.
The software's so
weird.
buggy, man.
Well,
Unless it was
I had
there
that with-
already.
I had that with Turtles when we went to go play Turtles. Which
Yeah,
was,
that's right.
That was like a marquee release for Game Pass that month.
That
and
app is so
couldn't find
shit.
it.
Yeah, so that was
I mean,
weird.
I understand they don't they're not very familiar with the platform they're making the app on, so it's it's understandable. It must be challenging.
And then I played about 5 minutes of I think it just came out on Game Pass called Kingdom Dynasties or something. Medieval Dynasties.
Yeah, Medieval Dynasty.
Medieval, that's the one, yeah. So I played 5 minutes, I say, because I started playing it. I'm like, hey, this is kind of cool. I think it's right up my alley. I love those kind of survival games. So you start off and you're in like a forest pathway, and then I'm like foraging and picking all the twigs and rocks because I know I'm going to need them later. And then come into this clearing and you see this cool landscape. There's a ton of pop-in, but whatever. And then I'm walking down and I'm thinking, man, I could really get into this game. And there's like a bunch of ducks and stuff. And by mistake, I pressed the wrong button and I punched the duck. And then it came up on the screen saying I lost dynasty points or some shit. And I'm like, okay, this is disappointing. Fuck this game. And I felt really bad about
I want to see that playtesting.
punching a duck. So, but honestly, I think I'll give it a crack on PC. On console, like, man, I don't know. I'll probably play it, but it's just there was so much pop in that, and it ran at 30 no less on an Xbox Series X that I'm like, this is probably not optimized particularly well. So I might give it a crack on PC just to see if it runs any better, because it seems like a cool concept.
Cool.
So yeah,
Right.
that was it. What about you, Swinny?
Look, we'll talk about our resolutions later. I've played a lot of a small amount of a lot of games. That's a horrible English sentence when I'm going to run with it anyway. But yeah, because I caught up on a lot of stuff there. But in terms of games I actually spent a bit more time with, Still Rising. So I talked about it last week. I gave my extended impressions. I completed the game this week, then I completed it again, and then I completed it again. So I feel like I'm pretty... got my fill of Still Rising this week. Now, the first playthrough was obviously, that took me a while. The second one is actually really funny. So I had a couple like quest related sub-quest stuff because I played the first playthrough blind, so I needed to like wrap up a few things. And I turned on assist mode and played through the whole game on assist mode, and it was absolutely hilarious. That's where I literally was taking 0 damage from bosses.
Oh, nice.
I was just like, this is funny as. So I ended up beating the game like 5 hours just by steamrolling everything. And then for my third playthrough, it was like the complete opposite. I did the playthrough without using the healing item, the Estus flask thing.
Yeah, I remember you telling us.
Yeah,
about that.
so
Flask.
yeah, basically the equivalent of
It's
the
a
Estus
bonfire,
flask,
man. I don't care what else they call it.
which it's called like the oil burette or something in this,
an
and
Estus flask.
it's actually outside of like the first part of the game, it's actually pretty. Once you play through before, it's pretty easy to play through like that because you get enough of the like one-off consumable healing items. So, Yeah, overall, look, Still Rising, I ended up really loving it. I think that I said it last week, if they had tidied up the first like hour of the game a bit, I think it would leave a much better impression on people because a lot of the rest of the game is great, and it's to me it's a standout in the genre, and it's just I think it just needed maybe a little bit more fine tuning here and there, but yeah, Still Rising. I said last week it's probably a really good candidate, maybe in a year's time, maybe less, to get added to these PS Plus and Games Pass services. So if you're curious but you don't want to plonk down any money for it, or at least a decent amount of money, maybe just give it time and it'll probably drop on them. So
It's amazing how Dark Souls infiltrates so much of my thinking. We're taking our eldest son to horse riding, so it's in the country, proper country.
Nice.
And there was a bonfire, and my wife was like, "Oh, why is that kid at the bonfire?" I'm like, "Oh, he's just replenishing his Estus flasks." I literally said that. He's got too many souls. He's trying to upgrade. I'm like, it's but it's actually weird in my head. Like that game is so like, even though I'm so new to that game, it's already it's almost like in my brain, it's a framework of how I think about games now. You know what I mean? Like I compare all the other games to that.
I wish knowledge like that and jokes like that was common knowledge across like the majority of society, because I would enjoy making so many jokes about Dark Souls like during a work meeting and stuff like that. It just feels like
Maybe
you can't. No one understands it.
Yeah.
People don't play games even at my work at all,
like
right?
us.
Well,
But-
you two nerds need to play. Yeah, sorry, you go.
I was just gonna say on that topic though, Swinny, I've realized that I can't use Simpsons and Seinfeld references anymore. Because the age of the people I'm working with, obviously, trends around the same, but I'm getting older, right?
Yeah.
And I started saying like some things like from Seinfeld, and people were like, "What are you talking about?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's from Seinfeld." And they go, "Oh, I've never watched it." Like I was on a call with 6 people, no people would watch Seinfeld.
Wow.
0 apart from me. I'm like, what the fuck, man?
Were they all like in
Simpsons
the
even
early
worse.
20s or?
No, it's a mix, like 20s, early 30s and stuff. But yeah.
Yes, I've experienced the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably not. I think the people you work with,
Getting
Sonny,
old.
are cooler, but
We are.
yeah, I guess we are getting old, man. Jesus.
Okay, all right. A couple more games I tried out. So some really notable Game Pass releases for me, being the RPG nerd I am, is the first is Ni no Kuni. The first Ni no Kuni, the remastered version. So around Tokyo Game Show, they announced this, and the next game I'll talk about were getting added to Game Pass basically that day. So I've always wanted to try Ni no Kuni. I've got it on the Switch, but I haven't loaded it up yet. And if anyone doesn't know, it's made by Level 5. They're the people behind a bunch of RPGs, but on the PlayStation consoles generally, but also the Professor Layton series. So you see a lot of the DNA and the UI design and the sound design from the Layton games in this. But it's also, the first game at least is in collaboration with Studio Ghibli. Or Ghibli, I should say. I guess that's how you say it, but anyway.
Yeah, Ghibli.
So they do all the animated cutscenes, which are really, really nice. It looks great. But there's just something weird about the tone of the game. And I've only played through like the starting part of the game, but I sent you a clip, Mike, I think it was, that just felt like, I don't know, something, just making like comedy out of like really dark moments just seems to be something this game just revels in so far. And it's just an odd tone.
Sounds like my kind of game then.
Yeah, so I don't want to spoil anything, even though it's at the start of the game, but it's just moments where I'm like, wow, that feels like it in another game or another thing, it would have been treated very differently, a lot more carefully, but whatever. It's people love the game. I don't know where I land on it yet, because I haven't gotten too far into the combat part of it, but it seems like a nice casual JRPG, at least so far, so I'll go back to that definitely. And the next game is a game I've always wanted to try called Fuga Melodies of Steel. So this is a game that Janet Cho from Giant Bomb talked about a lot when it came out a few years ago, and it just got added to Game Pass. And this is a game from CyberConnect 2. So they're the mob that make a lot of the anime games. They make like the JoJo All-Star Battle game that I talked about recently and everything. But this is like a series, and it's they publish it, I believe. Or at least it's a much smaller release. It's not, like a tentpole thing they do for those anime licenses. But they've been making this series that features like these anthropomorphic like characters since like the original PlayStation. They're almost like this running series of games. And Fuga Melodies of Steel is basically you have about, I think it's like 13, it could be more, maybe 14 of these like little animal children, basically, commanding this tank, this gigantic tank, as it goes through the story, and you'll like go do turn-based battles, and then you'll like do like conversations and things. It's got a really cool art style, but there's something, and this is something that everyone talked about with this game. You can sacrifice these children in what's called a soul cannon. So basically, if you're struggling against a boss, you can go, I'm going to take one of my little animal kids and sacrifice them in this soul cannon to beat this boss, and then they're dead for the entire game. It's really like, it's just that crazy thought that like these little cutesy characters, you can just sacrifice one.
Can you hire new kids?
So you will get, I think some people characters do join throughout the game. I haven't played enough to get to that point, but it's a major thing where you're like, okay, I'm going to use this soul cannon to kill them. So
that makes sense.
It's kind of wild. So I really like the visual design and everything. It's a really cool looking game. But so I'll be going back to that. But that's Fuga Melodies of Steel, and they've confirmed they're making a sequel to it as well. So
I think it's a great philosopher Russell Peters once said. You get the new kid and you tell the new kid how shit the old kid was at beating bosses. And you move on with your life, I guess.
Ba-bum. I need some sound effects on hooks and stuff.
Mike,
you never
fail to surprise me.
Well, if you want to know what I said to my partner when I found out her father had a heart attack, I won't tell you what.
Well, you can't just say it like that and leave it.
And I'm as
what did you say?
I'm actually seeing him tomorrow.
Sorry to hear that.
I'm seeing him tomorrow, but I heard you're not supposed to make them
Mate,
laugh.
I made the best joke about his heart attack.
It was actually a really good joke.
While it was like happening, basically. He was on the fucking bed.
See,
he was on the stretcher.
I'm seeing him. We had a video chat with the fam actually today. And
is that where you did the joke? Or
no, I didn't want to say much because I was told by medical professionals that you shouldn't make him laugh because it's painful because you get your bloody chest ripped open.
Not only is it too soon, you're also trying to kill him.
Well, I'm trying not to, right? So then I'm like, I'll just behave myself. And they're like, oh, Mike's being really quiet today. He's not really saying much.
I like how they know him. So wait, what was the joke?
Yes, I'm trying not to make him laugh. Huh?
What was the joke?
Nothing.
How weird to raise it and then just go, oh, nothing.
So he just got back from Launceston.
You brought it up.
He just got back from Launceston, and I told him before he went, I said, Launceston has the best strippers in all of Australia. This is in Tasmania. So it's in Tasmania. And I said, listen, Launceston has the best strippers in all of Australia. Stay away from there. You're going to get a heart attack at your age. And look what happened. Just saying.
Wait, what is this? Launceston has the best strippers.
I'm guessing he came back from Launceston.
I don't know firsthand. Oh, he came back from Launceston, yeah.
But I've never heard of this.
Anyway, all jokes aside, he's doing well. I don't even know why we're talking about it.
We
videoed today.
Laughter is a coping mechanism.
Yeah. It's massively a coping mechanism, and he's a really funny guy. As in and I seem to be the only one in the entire bloody family that loves his dad jokes. Like I genuinely freaking love his dad jokes. Everyone's like, oh, here we go again. And I'm like, man, I love this shit. It's brilliant.
Just talking about like laughter being a coping mechanism. That's what my mum always does. She always laughs at the most inappropriate time. And when she came up a while back with my sister, actually, up in Sydney, she was like talking about some stuff, and we're like, oh, because she was a nurse, right? And she had to euthanize people, basically, right? Because like when they get so old and stuff, right? And I'm like, whoa, like, doesn't that like weigh on you that you're basically taking people's lives? And she goes, nah, not at all. I'm like, whoa, but like you've euthanized like a couple of people, it must be like really heavy. And she's like, no, like it was like heaps of people. I'm like, what do you mean?
What?
And I'm like, what are you talking about? And she goes, oh, it happened all the time. Because she's in an aged care.
Yeah, aged care, yeah.
And she's like, oh, I don't know, it's like 10 a month or something. I'm like, 10 a month? Wait, and you're doing this for 10 years, 10 a month, that's about 100 years. So it's like 1,000 people? And she's like, yeah, something like that. And I'm like, what? Right?
Sorry.
Yeah, go on.
No, so as someone also had, family member in aged care, unfortunately, it's just the reality of things. It really is. It's like, but it's hard to picture. It really is.
Yeah, but I think like if you and then I start asking these questions like, what, on someone's birthday? Like if they say no, I don't want to be euthanized. It's like, oh yeah, like Christmas. It's like, oh yeah, a couple of times and all this stuff, right? And then I'm like, oh, and then I'm like thinking about it. I'm like, man, you think about like Ted Bundy, Jeffrey Dahmer, all these serial killers in Australia. I'm like, all of them combined have killed less people than you. And then she goes, this is what she said. This is her line. And I'll end the story here. She goes, at least my kills were justified. I was like, whoa, this is like,
whoa,
this is some dark shit.
Man. Damn. How did we get onto this topic?
Well, Mike, all I know is I think it's time for the news.
Yeah, I need to go check on my cat. I'll be back.
Okay. Well, we'll start the first news story then with Super Mario movie.
Yes.
So Nintendo and Illumination have finally given us a look at the... I didn't actually know the proper title until this week. I don't know if it was.
Well, it wasn't announced. It wasn't announced yet.
Which is the Super Mario Brothers movie. And, pretty straightforward. And the internet is buzzing for various reasons. So I'll just cover. Like the trailer was, pretty short, but it was short and sweet. It's shown off, in. I didn't actually watch the full Nintendo Direct. I don't know if you did.
I did.
Yeah. I'm glad someone did. I'm like, I went to watch it, but I'm like, just ran out of time. I'm like, man, this thing's like 40 minutes to watch one trailer.
It wasn't that long.
But it's, it gave us our first listen to a bunch of the cast, including Jack Black as Bowser, what I assume is Keegan-Michael Key as Toad.
It was, yeah.
And Chris Pratt as Mario, of course. So
and a little audible expression from Charlie Day as well. As
Luigi. As Luigi. And just reiterating when we talked about it last time, release date. So this is coming early to Australia on the 30th of March, 7th of April for US and Canada, and 20th of April in Japan. I was trying to look up. I'm like, when does this come out in Europe? And I'm like, is it just a movie thing where the Europe release date is the same as the US and they never mention it? I don't know. So
I don't know what the UK. I didn't check the UK date. So
Intergot as the man with the Mario movie as his most anticipated video game of 2022. What are your thoughts? I haven't spoken to you at all about it.
No, we haven't even had a chat. My kids, because they love Sonic, man, the Sonic movie and everything like that, and they watched this trailer. Like we keep like pretty good control on the TV, don't let them go too crazy, but they watched this trailer like 10 times, dude. I just wanted to like have it on loop. We actually literally had it on loop for a period of time. I was like, this is driving me nuts, man. I actually can say all the lines almost from the movie. And it also disturbs me in this scene, if you're seeing the B-roll on YouTube, he doesn't say, like he goes, the Mushroom Kingdom. He doesn't say, here we go. He says, here we come. Which like bothered me. But no, look, like overall very like excited. It's kind of like, in a way, like it doesn't matter if this was totally jogged shit. Like I was always going to go watch this movie in the cinema, right? Like there's just no way I would be not watching this in the cinema. Similar to like the new Star Wars movie. And then now I don't go, like I haven't even watched Solo, for instance, right? So like, yes, if it's totally crap, like I'm sure they'll make other movies in this, Mario cinematic universe. I guess you can't use that one because you've already got one in MCU. We already have a George.
It'll be the SMCU.
SMCU. It doesn't sound so good. MBCU. Anyway, let's workshop that later. The NCU, can we say that? The Nintendo Cinematic Universe? Maybe that's a bit better. But yeah, looks fine. Like, it was a lot darker than I was expecting with the whole Bowser start, to be honest. And just Bowser, it was almost like the most aggressive Bowser's been compared to any of the games that I can think of. Like in terms of like his acting,
if you're not counting like Smash when he's Giga Bowser and stuff.
Well, that doesn't. I don't think that counts, right? I'm saying,
yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like you've
games.
had Bowser in this kind of like more like crazy, like scary form before, but the big question it's got. We were all waiting to hear Chris Pratt as Mario and the Mario voice.
But he already said he wasn't going to do an Italian voice.
No, but
Chris
I
Pratt
know that. I know that.
Playing Chris Pratt.
we all have memories, unlike the 99% of the internet. They're like, oh, I thought he was going to do that. But there's so many people who still thought this movie was bloody live action. Anyway,
no, they didn't, did they?
there's man, trust me, there's people out there that thought this movie was live action.
That's pretty dumb.
Well, I
But-
was
but what
expecting a sequel to the first movie, but oh well.
But into it, what did you think of the voice? You've said before you were looking forward to hearing it for so long. So
Yeah,
I
look,
wanna hear.
look, I can kind of understand where they ended up, which is pretty much like it's kind of almost like a mix of Midwest and like New York, much more dialed into the Midwest though. Like if it was more like a Brooklyn accent, like that would make a lot more sense, honestly. But you'd probably pick a different actor than Chris Pratt. But I don't know, it's not offensive. Like to me, I'm not a big fan of Ryan Reynolds, so him in the Doctor Detective Pikachu movie was kind of a little bit annoying at times to me, because it's one thing about Ryan Reynolds. This is weird, like I'm shitting on him, but it's always like he's Ryan Reynolds in my head, right? Like really good actors like Tom Cruise and stuff like that, even though they're a huge personality, eventually in the movie I forget it's Tom Cruise and I just think it's that character. And I think Chris Pratt's pretty good at that stuff as well. Like I'm sure I'll watch it and kind of forget about it. I wasn't like, one thing is like with Jack Black, it just didn't really sound like Jack Black. Like it was
Which
kind
was
of
cool. Yeah.
Well, I
like that.
I'm not sure
No,
if
I
I was
think-
like super into the Bowser voice personally.
A lot of people have said that, and I mean, Jack Black has a pretty big range of like stuff he does.
Yeah.
Like even in the Tenacious D stuff, that like I think a lot of people are expecting the School of Rock style Jack Black voice, and he's so much more than that. So that's why I never had any doubts about him. It was a funny casting, but I never had any doubts about him. Where it was more like, God, like Seth Rogen's Donkey Kong is the one that I really want to hear.
That one is weird. That's the weirdest of all of them. And I wasn't necessarily a big fan of Jack Black's voice, but it's I think so premature at this stage with a few lines and stuff like that. I think Charlie Day as Luigi is like perfect. Like that makes sense. I know that guy so much because of It's Always Sunny, and his voice and his mannerisms and comedy and everything, I feel like would like lend perfectly to that character. So
Yeah, I thought the trailer was really good. There's some things like Jack Black as Bowser. I think it's more like something about the facial animation, especially when he's like starts smiling, just feels a bit off to me. But I had that feeling the most with Mario. I had that feeling the most with Mario's face design. It just so far doesn't. It feels so different than like the Nintendo style 3D Mario face, and it's obviously Illumination's influence and it's a different art style almost in 3D art, but it just like it left me with a weird impression at first. In terms of the voice, it was okay. I think I actually not that obviously he's got a lot of money and he's obviously got a lot of fame, but I almost feel a little bit sorry for Chris Pratt in this whole thing, because people are just absolutely piling on him for almost no reason, and it's like I guess people wanted the whole like it's a Mario kind of thing.
No, thank fuck it's not in that.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Like, there's some people saying that, but it's like people were already piling on him. It was a funny casting again, but like before they even heard the voice, and it doesn't matter what he did, they were going to shit on it.
Yeah, like just on that, my prediction is there'll be a point in the movie where something happened. Like this is just a random prediction. I think there'll be a point in the movie where he'll get like some reason his voice turns Japanese for a second, and then it's like they're shaking something, and then it's like Spanish, and then they're shaking it again, and it's like Italian. It'll be Charles Martinet's version of it. I'm predicting this right now. If not, they'll just skip straight to the Italian thing and then go, oh, wow, that was so weird. Back to Chris Pratt, right?
Or he has to put on a disguise for like to get past something, and
that's
he does
better.
a fake voice.
That's actually better. He puts on like an Italian outfit or something. Oh, it's on me. And then like Luigi's like, I don't think we should do that here. Yeah. But actually, we should do like a Red Letter Media style, Swinny. Just sit down and try to predict the whole plot. Because like one thing is, I think they're just going to be so safe with this movie. Like they'll be super safe, and it will be like, I don't know. Because my kids watch the Minions, and that's the same people that do this, and they have like a few adult jokes sprinkled here and there, but they're just like not to that Pixar level of quality. Not that Pixar's necessarily at that level anymore either.
The trailer looked really cool. I thought the quality was pretty cool in term. And so I'm the least Nintendo S. What?
You hate it.
What are you laughing at, Swinny? I don't hate Mario. I just hate the fact that they don't innovate as much as they should. No, the same character over and over and over again in different games. You know my thoughts on this. Are you laughing at my hair? Whatever. So I actually really liked this trailer. I thought it was really cool. Surprisingly, I'm watching it and I'm going, I actually want to see this. Yes, it's got Mario in it, but I actually want to fucking see this. The humor was pretty cool. It was hit just the right mark. Animation looked cool. Graphically, it looked just right. I thought it was awesome. I'm actually kind of looking forward to this. Not at the cinema like you. I'll just watch that at home on my 5.1, which we've spoken about before.
Oh, so wait, you're not going to watch it when it comes out?
Jesus.
No, I'll just wait until it comes on something that I can watch it on. I'm not desperate about any films enough to go to the cinema to watch them. But
the last point for me on this is I'm a little disappointed. I understand why, but it's the whole origin story of Mario seemingly coming into the Mushroom Kingdom.
Yeah, of course.
And we knew that was the case, but it was almost part of me just wants to see like. There's times you just like, oh, screw the origin story, man. I just want to see these characters. Everyone knows these characters. We don't need to introduce Mario, but clearly they're doing it. They're doing the whole isekai thing, and it's like...
so you can have sequels, and then you've already...
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Dude, it will be super safe, right? It's going to be super, super safe. And the fact that, like, there's Spike, Donkey Kong, they're going to go through... It's going to be, like, New Donk City... Like it is like because they've got the cast, right? So we know what the cast is. So yeah.
All right. Any last words on this? Or...
No. I'm really looking forward to it. I'll see it. I might even see it like opening night or something.
So. Cool. Well, let's talk some Overwatch 2. So Overwatch 2 has launched in a whirlwind of excitement and controversy. So just to outline a couple of things. So Overwatch 2 is available on all platforms. It has essentially replaced Overwatch 1, but with a new free-to-play model. And also, some people remember back to when they announced Overwatch 2, they had the whole thing about we're going to do PvE and story mode stuff. That stuff isn't here yet. That stuff is in their roadmap likely for next year. So we're essentially basically replacing the PvP model of Overwatch 1 with this new content, new characters, new battle pass structure and everything. And unfortunately, the servers were hit by the DDoS attacks at launch, which, man, I'm sometimes you just like the internet was a mistake, and DDoS attacks that's one of those cases for me. But yeah, before we talk about some of the stuff around the whole mobile phone number things, Indigo, I wanted to get your initial thoughts as you're a newbie to the series, aren't you?
Yeah, and I'm not going to be playing Overwatch or anything like Overwatch, but I did want to try it out. It's free. I played a little bit of Overwatch 1. Also, by the way, like, with the DDoS stuff, I'm like, alleged. It's like, is it DDoS or is it just they can't get their servers working correctly? Like, I kind of put a question mark around that. I'd love to see that independently verified. But yeah, I really don't understand this game. I don't understand why they launched Overwatch 2 the way that they have. It's very Halo Infinite. Because I played Overwatch 1 and I'm like, it's kind of exactly the same as Overwatch 1 with one less person, which, I don't know, I'm not familiar enough with Overwatch to feel like if that's a good move. Definitely, 100% straight away made me feel more involved in the game because it's like, wow, it's like I'm 20% of the team instead of like 16% of the team, and it's amazing how that does alter it. Like, you go down, it's like the change between 5v4 is quite dramatic versus 6v5. It's like good and everything like that, but I'm so baffled by why they did this. This, like, if I think through like Rocket League, that was a paid game, just like Overwatch, for a long, long time, and then went to free-to-play. And they didn't go, here's Rocket League 2. Right? I don't personally understand why they've launched this as Overwatch 2. I don't... Like Swinny, what's the difference between this and Overwatch 1, really?
Look, I can't really talk too much to it because I've never played Overwatch 1, and I've never played Overwatch 2. So All I know is that, they didn't want to split the player base. We talked about it before, and they felt that this was the best way to do it, to move everyone essentially on. But I can understand with that situation, a lot of people just feel like, well, why couldn't this have been a content update? But at the same time, if it was a content update, you wouldn't have people talking about it, like people talking about Overwatch 2.
Yeah, but people aren't really talking about it. Like, I remember the other week, I was like, hey, wait, Overwatch 2's coming out. Like, are you guys playing that? Like, I haven't seen any buzz around this at all.
Well, we're the wrong people to ask for that, but
I'm not really, because we're like
if,
into the gaming stuff.
no,
Like,
if this was, I'm saying, compared to if
Let me
this was
call a
just the
friend.
content, if this was just a content update, like this is 100% people are talking more about this than they were if it was just an update to Overwatch 1.
yeah, but then I think about like season 2 with Fortnite, right? Like that was huge. Like the way they did that was really smart. The way that or chapter 2, sorry, I meant to say.
I'm
Like-
not saying that what they've done is smart. I'm just saying, like, compared to just adding new characters to number 1,
Yeah, well, look, like ultimately, time will tell the success of the strategy. To me, the strategy doesn't make sense.
Kind of reminds me of, I guess, what they did with Destiny, where you had Destiny and then the Destiny 2, and it kind of really was a continuation of the game.
That was pretty different though.
Kind of, but it still felt like they moved on to a new game where they could have kind of just continued the original one, but anyway, they moved on to a second title, and then all the stuff came as updates to the second title, as opposed to, because by now really they probably could have made number 3 with all the content that they had, but instead I guess they opted for that model. So I don't know if it's the same thing where maybe originally they started off as just having one game, and I don't know if they necessarily had a vision for multiple games like that, and it was maybe the same, or maybe they did have the vision, where I feel with Destiny they kind of went, okay, we're going to make a trilogy, and then when they got to the second one, they went, actually it makes more sense to just pump out DLCs instead of having, a proper trilogy. Because it is that kind of a game where it's not, we'll talk about Dead Space in a second, where it actually is a game, and then there's a second one and then a third one. This is like Overwatch 1.5 basically, or Destiny 1.5, because it's just a continuation and just more content added nonstop. So I actually messaged my mate who played thousands of hours of Overwatch, I think, and I asked him how's Overwatch 2, and he said same as 1 with differences I don't get. Like, I can't see my rank or others' rank, so when players in the team say things I don't know if I should follow or not. When they were high ranked in Overwatch 1, I would follow. Interesting little things like that, or I guess they've made some changes that players who have played, and this guy's, I think, literally thousands and thousands of hours he's put into it. He used to smash it every single day for years.
I get it if it's like, because like Splatoon 3 for me, right? If Splatoon 3 was only the multiplayer, I'm like, it's a bit bullshit, right? It's a good marketing ploy to get people back into the game, but Splatoon 3 isn't just like the multiplayer. Like, both of those games came out around the same time, like Splatoon 2 and Overwatch, right? Splatoon 3 comes out, it's got like a whole story mode, a new mini mode, like a whole bunch of shit, right? And by the way, you can still play Splatoon 2. Like, I logged in and played multiplayer Splatoon 2 the other day, right? With Overwatch 2, I just don't get it. It's like, they've launched it, and I was actually looking forward to the story stuff, like PvE stuff. And then it's like, oh, it's not going to launch with that, and we're going to shut down Overwatch 1. I'm like, this is fucking weird. Like, why are they doing this? This is like bizarre. So yeah, like I said, we'll see in time if it makes sense, but it doesn't feel like people are receiving it very well. And I don't really imagine it's going to bring people in, because people don't even know it came out.
Well, in saying that, I'll lead into this. A lot of the reviews are positive, but the thing is, a lot of the reviews aren't also talking about the monetization aspect as well, which a lot of people are criticizing. But I'm not going to talk too much to that because I'm very unfamiliar. So one of the main things I want to talk about is one of the bigger controversies around the launch period, which they have addressed it a bit, but is the whole mobile phone situation, and what it potentially means for live service games going forward, and I guess like a trend around this. So the game drew criticism because they adopted a new two-factor authentication process using a service called SMS Protect. Like you do with a lot of other services these days, where you'll get a verification code via mobile and things like that. But they really wanted to. They said it's to improve, like, security and things like smurfing, where people create new accounts at lower ranks just to wreck people and things like that. And of course, anti-cheat measures and things like that. Unfortunately, so I'll just say. So what that means is you have to have a valid mobile number attached to your Battle.net account to access the game at all. The unfortunate part is at launch, a lot of at least American or US carriers, people that had prepaid numbers, and a lot of carriers weren't actually able to access the game, and that includes people that were existing Overwatch 1 players. So basically, if they had a prepaid phone on like Cricket, for instance, or major US carrier, they couldn't actually use that number for this SMS Protect service, which absolutely sucked. And
a lot of people use prepaid that I know. So
and you couldn't use the same phone number on multiple accounts. So let's say if you had, there's stories out there. I know there's always like people just like, I guess like quotes and stuff, but it is true. Like there's, you got a father with like teenage kids. They share a phone, a prepaid phone for like, like security reasons and going out and stuff. And they basically can't then access the game using that same phone, and plus it's prepaid, So there's like lots of situations where it screws people over. Now, and I'll just say, apparently the next Modern Warfare 2 will also use. I don't know about on consoles or just PC, but will also use a similar process as well.
Well, I'm sure they'll take learnings from this, right?
Yeah. So. Now, Blizzard did backpedal a bit, so they axed the requirement for some existing accounts to actually have a mobile number to access the game. So I think they said, this is their quote, any Overwatch player with a connected Battle.net account, which includes all players who've played since June the 9th, 2021, so not that long ago when you think about the length of Overwatch, will not have to provide a phone number to play. But we remain committed to combating disruptive behavior. Accounts that were not connected to Battle.net, as well as new accounts, will still have to use a valid mobile phone number. So, to me, this is like, I know nothing about this SMS Protect stuff. I know nothing about why the prepaid stuff doesn't work, but that does cut out a bunch of people that, unfortunately, like, think about it, when, it was a different time, but well, at least when I first got a mobile phone, like, it was all prepaid because, the parents will say to kids and stuff, it's like, okay, well, you can have a $30 recharge, but, that means that you can't keep calling and stuff. And who needs to stay on the phone a lot these days with messaging?
But it's also probably easy to, well, I mean, I don't know. In Australia, I'm thinking about Optus. You need to provide ID for both prepaid and postpaid, obviously. So there's strict measures in place, but I can kind of see how over there I don't know what it's like in the US. It might be slightly easier to maybe bypass some of those things to get prepaid cards or prepaid numbers.
And but you're screwing over a segment of the audience to do that,
No, but honestly, maybe they didn't even know that was going to happen. Maybe they didn't even realize that prepaid numbers have some sort of weird flag.
But the fact that they've backflipped so quickly, obviously they haven't. I think in South America as well, a lot of the carriers, that service wasn't working. So it didn't matter if you're prepaid or not. It just like didn't work for folks in South America. And they're really big on Overwatch. So like a whole bunch of people in countries couldn't play like the game at all. By the way, I didn't get affected by it. Like it must have already changed by the time I tried it.
Interesting. Look, I don't. It's an interesting one. It's something that puts me off wanting to play a game like this, 100%. But at the same time, I can kind of see how they had to find a measure to stop some of those things because it's so bloody. You create a temporary email address and create an account and go and do whatever the fuck you want. They block you. Okay, if you don't have a static IP, big whoop, or you just jump on VPN, go create another fake email address, go create another account, and it's really hard to, I guess, stop some of that stuff. Whereas with this, okay, go get another mobile number if you want. It's not as easy.
I think it's fake though. Like they want mobile phones to identify people and like track their data and get
potentially
value.
it's to do with that as well. Yeah, absolutely.
Dude, it's 90% that. It's not. They don't give a fuck about the smurfing as much as people think they do.
Yeah, it's like WB Multiverses. We talked about it before. The fact that you had to have I don't know if it was called WB Games account or something, to even play that game, to try it out. And it's like, it just pushes me away now. this is obviously different people that love Overwatch, and I understand like in other industries, SMS verification is common, right? But it does, as you get alluding to the whole data part, it does signal a potential trend that could get a bit nasty.
I don't know why you can't just do two-factor authentication on an app, because that's what Steam
again, I don't
has.
think it's about the. It's more than just the actual 2FA. Yeah, it's more than the security thing.
That's what I'm trying to say.
They're clearly using it for more than that.
I think it's BS. I think it's more like they want the mobile phones of people, right?
Well, maybe, but at the same time, I think it's also just because it stops people from. It's the best way, probably, to stop people from creating multiple accounts.
Maybe.
It's a few birds with one stone. And there are, it's also an interesting point. Maybe this is one of the first instances, if not the first instance, where it's really used in gaming, but it is used across other applications. It's used across websites where you have to put in a mobile number to register stuff. Not super common, but it does exist across some stuff. I don't know, but I remember being asked about that kind of stuff in the past. Certain websites needing it as a method of verification, basically, so you don't just keep creating fake accounts. And look, again, I get where they're coming from. It is absolutely something that I would not personally like to do. But it's one of those things where they know people will play their game and they won't give a fuck. They'll just do it.
Well, as you're saying, Zigot, we'll see where the everything lands on everything about Overwatch 2. It'd be interesting to see where it's at this time next year, especially if they still haven't launched the single player content by then. So, talking about single player games, Dead Space. So, EA have finally unveiled the first proper gameplay footage, or at least polished gameplay footage, in a new trailer for the remake. So we did previously see a bunch of footage in development blogs. It was more like alpha footage and unfinished stuff. So anyone doesn't know, the Dead Space remake is being made by EA Motive, who made Star Wars Squadrons. And it's coming pretty soon. Well, not this year, but coming 27th of Jan next year for PC, PS5, and Xbox Series consoles. And just as an aside, EA also revealed last month that Motive are working on an Iron Man game, which is pretty funny because it's like Isaac Clarke's helmet looks. Yeah. Anyway, I found that a bit of funny thing. But Mike, as the Dead Space fan on the show, what do you think of the trailer?
Definitely piqued my interest. I mean, there was nothing in it that blew me away from the perspective of, oh my god, I haven't seen this before, because I have seen all of that before. The game looks like what I would have remembered the game looking like when I first played it, if that makes sense. We've talked about this before, where you see a remaster or a remake of a particular game, and you think, oh yeah, that's how I remember the game looking. But if you actually went back to play the original game, you're like, oh wow, this game looks pretty bad by today's standards. It happened with GTA, it happened with a whole bunch of games. So to me, this looked really, really good. It looked fantastic. And it was very familiar because I played all 3 games in the series, and number 1 was still absolutely my favorite, mostly because of it came at a time when I needed a game like that. Not needed, but like there was a gap in the market where a game like that just worked really, really well. I was really into the Silent Hill games. This was more action-y based, but still horror. Fantastic mechanic. We've spoken in previous episodes about all the cool things that make this game what it is.
Diegetic.
So that's right, yeah. Which is all about having that minimal interface where you don't have the HUD. You actually have the elements incorporated in the world itself. Which they actually showcased that as well. They clearly showed a very prominent scene where you could see the health bars going up on Isaac's back.
Was there actually an option to have a HUD? Because I'm just thinking from an accessibility standpoint, it might be an option they actually have this time,
Look, I played the game so long ago, I don't remember it. Maybe now they'll introduce one.
They have to, or else they're racist.
But that was incredible back then, the fact that it didn't have one. It was really, really sick. And the way they integrated just worked so bloody well. It was even the gun itself, having the actual ammo count on it, the fact that the map comes up as like a hologram. It was fantastic.
But the remake, like, are you pumped to play it, or are you a bit on the fence?
Are you actually gonna get it?
Absolutely will. Yeah, I mean, look, it's one of those things where I'm like, it's unlike The Last of Us, where not enough time has passed for me to justify full price for it, because it really hasn't been that long since I played it, that I don't think it's worth forking out money to play it again, because I still remember most of it. With this, it's been so long, and especially because it's been muddied by the second and third game, that I remember scenes and bits and pieces from it, but I don't remember it enough to kind of worry about buying it again, where if I bought it again, it'll feel like a fairly fresh experience. The same thing sort of happened with Demon Souls, for example. I bought it and I kind of remembered the areas, and I definitely remembered what was going on, but I don't remember where all the item placements were. And it was freshened up enough that it felt like a new experience almost.
I think, this is an awesome candidate for a remake because not only is the IP loved by a lot of people, but you look at EA, that was around the time when they were taking a lot more risks with these single player new IPs around that time. And if this sells well, then it'll give them more confidence and other companies more confidence that, hey, we can bring back these IPs in this era of live service and multiplayer games that are designed around generally a single player experience. But it's actually, as much as I'm not a fan of horror, I've always wanted to actually jump into the series. I've literally got my 360 copy here that has been sitting on my shelf and I've never taken out because I am a fan of like the Alien movies and stuff. So anything that's more action horror is definitely appeals to me more than like, I know there's jump scares in it, but more than like your traditional horror and stuff. But I think this
Definitely
looks great.
horror,
The trailer was cool. So.
And it finds a good middle ground between being full on action, because when you look back at the original Resident Evil games, the restricted camera and the restricted controls actually formed part of the core gameplay, in the sense that they were so clunky in some ways that added fright beyond what the fright came from the game itself, just because we were like, fuck, how do I aim this upwards? And this is it's not quite, it's way more fluid, obviously, than what those games used to be. And especially, with the limb dismemberment, awesome the way they implemented it. And I think it's not overly actiony, but just the right amount of action to still feel really suspenseful. And there's also an anime, by the way, if you want to watch it, which kind of goes into the lore and stuff. I think I might have a copy of it. Because I remember when it first came out, I even ordered the collector's edition of it, which came with a little mini replica gun thing. It only had little LEDs and stuff on it. I don't even remember if it transformed, because his gun, his pistol, plasma pistol, I think it's called. I forget the name of it because it's been so long since I played it. It transforms between vertical and horizontal shooting with the 3 dots, and it's obviously strategically, like, depending on which kind of enemy or what limb you're going for, you have to like switch between the two, which was in itself a really cool mechanic back then. So yeah, man, I'm pumped for this one. Same as Callisto Protocol, which is, let's call it the spiritual successor in some ways of the series. And if that's successful as well, which I'm hoping it will be, I would love to actually see a revival of this sort of genre.
Well, you're in luck because there's so many bloody games in that genre and that style that were announced.
I haven't played all of them
this
yet.
year.
Like Resident Evil, I still got to play that, and then third person.
Specifically the sci-fi horror genre is a big
good.
Wait,
Although, go on.
Well, my question though is, if you get Callisto Protocol, are you gonna then go into Dead Space remake like a month?
Yeah, this is a tricky
later?
one. Yeah,
Feels like, to me, it just feels like too much, like of the same.
Too much,
meal,
yet different but similar, and it's going to be confusing as well playing it.
I can't have a chicken schnitzel and then the next day I have a parma. That's just too much.
It's kind of like that, exactly.
It is.
And then you're like, which one's actually better? Oh man, should I have had the other one first?
Dude, I get a real strong feeling that Callisto Protocol is going to get delayed.
I said that the other day, like last
episode. Did you? Oh,
I hope so.
I said I have a feeling it's going to get pushed.
Yeah, I think it's going to get delayed. Like, they're pushing so hard, but the fact that they've kind of gotten a bit quiet on the marketing front is... I know there is some marketing out there on it, but I don't know. It's not at the... This game is meant to come out in 2 months from now. Less than 2 months.
I've seen... It's more... What I've seen at the moment is more like just articles with, like, Glenn Schofield talking about the game. Yeah. But... Like, if anything, if the last 2 years have taught me anything, is that it doesn't matter how much you're talking about a game, it can still get delayed. Like Halo, and there's a whole bunch of games that were like almost the week that it got delayed. They were doing new stuff for it,
Yeah. I don't know. I'm a bit sus.
Look at Skull and Bones, man.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that fucking game.
I'm actually, as much as it would suck for people, I'm actually hoping it gets delayed just because of Dead Space and stuff as well.
Yeah, but I think Dead Space for me seems like that's a lock. There's something about it. It feels more like rhythm. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, big trailer, like, go and order all this shit for it. Like, I just really feel like Dead Space is going to come out for sure.
I'm just trying to think if EA even have, like, what was the last game they delayed? I can't even really think. Maybe a Battlefield game got delayed. I don't know, but yeah, they seem more consistent than most publishers.
They just kill their teams. They fire them and shut them down if they don't deliver.
But you know what I mean? It's like I can't think of them having a reputation for announcing a release date unless they were confident it was going to hit.
Yeah, and also like the team behind Callisto Protocol is kind of like all put together, right? Like it's not like they've made a whole bunch of games together consistently. So. But anyway, it's going to be interesting. I feel like if Callisto Protocol is a decent game, reviews well or whatever, I'll get it. But it's almost like whatever comes out first. And this is the dilemma for the teams. Like, if I get Callisto Protocol first, I'm just not going to get Dead Space Remake for a while. Like, it's too much of the same thing. I'm a bit like you, Swinny. Like, these games are too full on for me. Like, I can take one and then I need a break. I need a breather.
If you guys want one full of game in the genre that's not really action based, but I highly, highly recommend. It's Alien Isolation.
Yeah,
that game is fucking amazing. It's such a good game. And if you're into aliens, it's really, 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 really good.
Well, that's that story. I'm not going to let you keep talking about Alien Isolation. It's because this is another chunky one. We have a very big update from CD Projekt Red. So anyone doesn't remember, they're the people behind Cyberpunk 2077. You know, that flawless game that I loved. Yeah. And Witcher 3. So they basically, I don't know if it was part of the investor call, but I know some of the news came out of it. But they basically just announced a whole bunch of shit that so far in advance. Oh, I'm glad you got the picture up. That's really cool.
I'm just doing this on the fly.
So basically, they confirmed that we knew some of this stuff, but they announced some new news about this. But they basically have working on 3 IPs. Like that's their focus now. Obviously, the Cyberpunk world, the Witcher world, and a brand new IP that they talked a little bit about. So I'll cover the quicker ones first. I'll start off with that new IP because there's not that much to talk about. It will be their first original IP in their 30-year history.
Smart.
Because, basically, like they've always worked on the other 2 licensed ones. It is codenamed Projekt Hater or Hatter. And
it's about the haters.
These and has been incubated since last year, currently in the conception phase. All this like birth analogies is really weird. But they basically said, look, the only thing we know is they said about the genre of it, they said, look, don't be surprised about it. They know, the kind of games we make. So it's obviously going to be an RPG. So don't stress about that if you don't worried about them moving out too far outside of their comfort zone. But there's not much more about that new IP. Obviously, it's very far away, like a lot of this stuff they're actually talking about. So,
but it does seem like it might be sci-fi, right? Like space-based to sci-fi. Because Hater is like the only thing I know about Hater is it's like to do with the star system, right?
Oh, that would make sense. Yeah.
Yep.
With Cyberpunk, so they basically. They've talked a little bit about this before, but they said that basically they're working on the sequel, which is called Projekt Orion at the moment, and will actually be developed by their new North American studio, which is based in Boston.
Oh, I didn't know about that. Okay.
Yeah, so work will begin after the Phantom Liberty expansion for 2077 has been released, and I would assume patched and patched and patched. So the big news here, and this is where like the crazy stuff begins, is the Witcher news that they talked about. So we know that they're working on a 4th Witcher game. They talked about that this year and last year and everything. But it will be the start of a new trilogy that they're codenaming. Lots of codenames this segment. Just heads up if you haven't figured it out yet. Codenamed Projekt Polaris. So all 3. This is crazy. All 3 games are planned to be released within a 6-year period after the first one releases. So, the second and
Whoa,
third, which is
okay.
crazy. It is.
It's not gonna happen.
Now, this is a studio, like, anyone doesn't know, this is a studio that has, like, 1,200 people working there. So it's a much bigger studio than they were back, like, even 5 years ago and stuff. But that is nuts. Now, they're not saying it is happening for sure. Obviously, this is, like, investor stuff, so they're always going to talk shit, like, more than they normally do. And I love CD Projekt Red, but of course they talk shit. But that is crazy. But that's not the only Witcher stuff they talked about. So that, in addition to that trilogy... There's also another game, a spin-off called codenamed. This stuff is just stupid. Project Canis Majoris, and is being developed by.
They're named after constellations.
No, sorry, I skipped one. I'll talk about that
did.
one now. Actually, codename Canis Majoris is being developed by a third-party studio led by Witcher veterans, which is just really weird to me. And the game will be a single-player open-world RPG. It's crazy. The thing is, I know that like I love the games they make, but this stuff is wild. And it will be made in Unreal Engine 5 alongside the tool set that they're making for the trilogy that talked about it. But the one I actually just forgot to mention there was the other spin-off called Project Sirius. That's the fifth. No, the fifth bloody project name. That one is being developed by the studio they acquired called the Molasses Flood, who made the Flame in the Flood game. And so they're working on basically just another game that's apparently, much different and appealing to a much broader audience, which is really weird to me. It's and it will apparently have single player and multiplayer elements to it. So that potentially could be like a Gwent style thing. That's where if they're going to a more broader audience, maybe it's targeting more that kind of like competitive scene and stuff. But man, they just can't shut up, can they?
I know everyone loves CDPR, or used to at least, but it's a bit like James Cameron with the Avatar series. Well, series, I call it. It's literally one fucking movie since 2009 so far, as we speak, in the 9th of October 2022. And remember when James Cameron announced Avatar 2, 3, 4, 5? And it was like, they're all going to come out within a few years of each other, starting from 2014. And it's like 2022 right now, and the second movie should be coming out at the end of the year. I don't understand this, man. Like, it's literally 7 new games and the DLC for a studio that... How many times did they delay Cyberpunk? And it was a disaster on launch?
But they're not... It's not like they're saying within the next 6 years you're going to get the next 3 major Witcher games.
Yeah, but it's 7 games, dude. That's...
Yeah, but
they literally were working on one game and they failed to release it properly.
I know. Now,
like, seriously, come on.
You look at, Project Sirius, which is a completely different spin-off game thing by third party. Canis Majoris is a third party, so they'll have some oversight.
Sirius is not
over
a third
it,
party.
but...
That's just the studio they acquired.
But I mean, like, it's really the new Witcher trilogy will just be one game probably, right? So
that's not what they're saying.
No, but they're not going to pump all 3 in 6 years.
Well, who knows? They're not
saying that.
They said after. Well, yeah, not within 6 years, but they're saying the 2 and the 3 will release within the 6-year period after the first one.
Yeah, so they have to be working on all 3.
See. Yeah, I've lost my faith in them, just like everyone else. I used to have a really high faith in these guys. Like, they could do no wrong, but everyone can do wrong. Absolutely. I think they're on the path to redemption. They're never going to fully redeem themselves, but it is exciting to see that these things are coming out.
I think they have a chance to redeem themselves eventually, but not within the lifetime of Cyberpunk 2077.
Yeah. Oh, definitely not. Honestly, the thing that I'm most excited about is probably the new IP out of all of them. I still want to finish The Witcher, but one thing that I'm bloody still waiting for is the updated next-gen version of it,
Witcher
which
3,
got delayed,
right?
Of The Witcher 3, yep. So I can wrap it up.
Oh, yeah, that's still not out, right?
Properly. No, it's still not out.
That's a weird case, though, because of the whole Russia thing. So that's an unfortunate situation.
Yeah, but let's not make excuses for this studio, man. Like,
I mean, that's a pretty good excuse when the people making it were based in Russia.
Yeah, but dude, like, there's lots of ways around those kind of things, right? Like, and they took it back anyway before all the conflict broke out, from what I remember. So I don't know.
I guess taking it back, it's different. You got to skill people up, and it's move a whole project to a whole bunch of new people. Yeah, I don't look. It'll come out when it'll come out. I think they've shot themselves in the foot by releasing something too early when it shouldn't have been, and I think they clearly learned their lesson, and now it's just a case of get something out when it's actually finished. But the new IP, yeah, I know nothing about it, but it's definitely something that I'm most excited about, actually, just to see what cool thing of their own they're going to create.
Yeah, I understand for investors the communication is very different than what you typically present to the gaming public, but this just feels so so ridiculous. The
It
amount
is.
of stuff
It's
they've
so
talked about. It
ridiculous.
is
It's stupid.
I could see if they talked about, okay, we're working on a new IP in the background, right? We're working on a Cyberpunk sequel, because that would be a given at some point, right? And we've already announced The Witcher, and hey, we have plans to make it a trilogy, right? But then to also talk about these other two Witcher games on the side of that trilogy, and to say that they'll be within 6 years of the first one, just feels so people are going to remember you said that. That's
It's
you know
arrogance,
what I mean?
man. And honestly, this is what it reminds me of. This is if you're watching the video on YouTube.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like Marvel going, we're releasing in phase 4, phase 3, whatever, and it's this movie, and then a quarter later that movie and this movie, and the difference is I don't like these movies, by the way, these Marvel movies, but they deliver. They fucking deliver.
You know
and
what's funny?
They get billions of dollars.
You know what's funny? You said that Phase 4 is the one that actually got all screwed up for Marvel.
True.
But that's
True.
fine. But
But-
they ended up delivering them eventually.
But to this point, they have delivered, man, and they've their movies make a lot of money, right? And they're getting it out there. And then I don't know, I just think it's super arrogant for this studio who, man, put it in context. Cyberpunk 2077 was announced in 2012. That's when they announced it. Similar to this, right? So in that 10-year period, they released one game that released super poorly, and it's in a good state now, very playable, and it's I don't know. I don't know why anyone still supports them in that way of believing what they're gonna do. It's just bizarre to me.
The thing for me is I can throw crap at them all day about this stuff, but ultimately I love the output they do put out once they kind of fix it up. So I am excited for this stuff. So I don't want to get that wrong, you know, as in put that out there that I do like the stuff they do, but just sometimes learn to keep things quiet.
Yeah.
So anyway.
So I got to check on Mr. Cat, but
Oh, Mike, this is the ultimate segment for you. What are you
this
doing?
no,
This
I'm
is
running
sextress.
there
This
and
is
back. I'm
sextress.
just checking on
Mike,
him.
this is what are you? I need
I
you for
gotta
this
check on
segment.
him.
Why don't you leave with the
gotta make
Analog
sure he's
Pocket
okay.
theorem? Why don't you leave with the Analog Pocket theorem thing? You're not going to care about that.
I'll be
All
right
right,
back.
all right. You leave and miss the fun segment. Okay. And the fun segment is the fact that Nintendo may be cracking down on eShop Hento games. And this news came because, and I say maybe, we wait for any official confirmation on this stuff. But
Well, I don't think there will be official confirmation.
well, as in let just maybe just not always take
The
100%
lack
the
of
word.
boobies.
But we had a publisher of quote amazing mature lewd titles end quote is claiming that Nintendo are no longer allowing games with uncensored nudity on the Switch. That's their words. And the publisher's called Gamazumi. I don't know if that's how you say it, but they're behind such titles, such amazingly
Esteemed.
esteemed titles as Elves Fantasy Hentai Puzzle, Beauty Bounce, and my personal favorite, Inside Her bedroom.
Gross.
What did I walk in on?
Did you not look at the right sheet?
No, I did. I know.
Just to pick up one thing, Swinny, that I actually watched a uncensored Let's Play for research of the show on that first title that you put in there, right? And I was actually surprised that on the Switch of what they can show or what they were showing. I was like, wow, I'm shocked that this is on the Switch.
So they claim that their next title, which is called Hot Tentacles Shoot, has been rejected by Nintendo because of an alleged refreshed stance on adult content on the eShop. Quote, this is from from Gamazumi. We received an answer from Nintendo, and now we have confirmation that they do not allow uncensored boobs on their consoles now.
Really?
Also, our recently announced game, Elf's Christmas Hentai Puzzle, was also rejected due to having nudity. That's all the info we have so far. And just as an aside, when I was reading the VGC article about this, they had a line, last year, 2 puzzle games were released on eShop, openly advertising that they can be played with one hand. So that's the current state of the eShop.
This is Mike, is the writer
No,
of
hey,
these press releases.
well, funny you say that. Believe it or not, I actually don't play any of those games. I don't give a shit about those games. I'm not into hentai whatsoever.
Well,
so
to be clear, this is
no
not
big
just
loss,
anything
but-
that is in that style. They're
Yeah,
saying
it's not just
that it could be
hentai.
just
Yeah.
uncensored nudity in general.
which would be slightly annoying. And it's funny because I think about Saints Row, and Saints Row, I think was like this in the original game as well. They used the pixelation censorship on
I'm fairly
nudity
certain it
and
would have been
stuff.
in the original
but it's
game.
done more because it's funny as well than anything else.
I-
But like, okay, fair enough with all of this stuff. I hope Nintendo also move on to get rid of all the shovelware that gets put on there instead, which I think is worse than having this stuff on there. I mean, it's a different kind of
Well,
thing, I
a lot of
suppose,
this
but-
stuff is also shovelware, Mike.
Yeah, it's totally
Yes and
shovelware.
no, but at least let's call
Yes and
them
no.
actual unique. Well, no, because they're actually unique things. They're not just a couple of Unity.
Oh, yeah,
literally
sorry.
a Unity project
the
downloaded
unique,
from GitHub.
Mike, these 2 titles are very unique. Elves Fantasy Hentai Puzzle versus the one they couldn't get on there, Elves Christmas Hentai
Dude,
Puzzle.
Well,
Mike,
no,
I
but it's
literally
different.
watched the whole game, right?
Yeah.
Like flicking through it, and there's nothing to it. It's like literally
Okay.
like 4 puzzles. Like that's it.
Okay, then fuck that. But that
I-
should be just fuck that purely from a perspective of it's trash to begin with, not so much, oh, it's trash that's got boobies in it. I just think they need to remove the trash. There's way too much
am
trash on there.
All for this because look, the whole censorship thing, these games, I don't care if they exist and, people should be able to put these games out and people should be able to consume it. But I don't feel the Nintendo eShop is the place that you put this stuff. It feels just inappropriate to me. Like the Nintendo eShop is just, there's like, there's some titles that are just like, oh, Panty Raider and all this stuff. You like, I don't know. I don't have like a kid's account on a Switch. I don't know if that stuff is filtered out when they look at
It
the
is.
eShop or
It
not.
is. It is.
Yeah.
Okay, thankfully that is at least.
In which
it
case-
just
Oh, yeah,
feels,
shit,
Why not
it
have
just
it?
feels like the wrong place for it, and not even from an ethical standpoint, just more from like, it's the Nintendo eShop. Like,
doesn't seem on
I
brand.
don't want.
Doesn't
I
seem on
don't want to
brand,
see
yeah.
that
but-
stuff when I'm looking at the Nintendo eShop. Like,
Fair enough,
put
but
it on Steam, whatever.
Yeah, I
like,
agree.
But I mean, okay, that's
fine.
bad. But you can run around in a game like Saints Row that we've been talking about with a dildo beating cops up. So where do you draw the line of what should and shouldn't be allowed? I think
most people could
hentai
look at-
anime is less explicit than running around with a dildo beating cops up.
I don't know about that. I think it's
What do you mean? Like it's fucking hentai. It's like
well,
it's
hentai is
bullshit
literally a category of porn,
drone.
right? So,
Yeah, it is a category of porn. But in my opinion, if I think about what is more fucked up to me, seeing a drone bunch of boobies is way less bad than seeing a cop being beaten up by someone with a dildo.
Let's not get into the whole
is
violence
that allowed
versus
then?
sexual part, because that's a whole other discussion that
No, but I
you
mean,
could,
like,
you
He's
could
fucking
mixing
definitely
the
argue
violence
either
and the
way.
sex with
It's
getting
stupid.
beat by a dildo.
But what
It's a
Mike,
crossover event.
the point is that the Saints Row as a product is
It's still a
that's
game.
not the only thing Saints Row has to offer.
Yeah.
Right? Whereas this is all these games have to offer. This is
Exactly.
what they're designed for. And they're also trash. Like, if these were
Yeah, well, that's the
really
main
good
thing, why
video
they should
games,
piss off.
I could see someone making an argument for it. But these are just trash that are put up for that reason. And it feels like the shovel you're talking about. It just feels like the eShop shouldn't be the place for all that shit. And I
do get what
say
you
that
mean,
for
yeah.
the same with the Xbox and the PlayStation market. PlayStation, obviously, they don't have a lot of that stuff. But Steam is the place that makes sense, right? Or at least an offshoot of Steam that has the adult content,
Well,
So.
And I like generally hate censorship, like in deplatforming and all this other kind of stuff. But I think the key thing is like, are there successful platforms you can be on, right? Like, I hate when people get banned from stuff and it's like banned from, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, like everything effectively, right? Like, if they're able to be on one of the platforms, it's like, I don't mind it as much. It's like, But I think I totally agree with Swinny. Like, the fact that you have this already on Steam, it's a bit like, you're covered. Like Steam is like the biggest platform. Like if Steam started banning this stuff, I'd be a bit uncomfortable with that, honestly, because I think I don't really inherently have a problem. I just think it's trashy. But I also agree with where you're coming from before, Mike. It's like there's way too much crap on the Nintendo eShop. Like I bring back the fucking seal of approval, man. Like have some like. Honestly, like
It's dead. There's no chance of bringing that back.
I don't really understand the logic of like surely a lot of these games you could play it for like an hour, right? All of them, right? And just some of them are just like nah, like you ain't gonna come on my platform. I feel like they can carve out like honestly like 50% of the games from the platform.
Probably, yeah.
And
I just
you wouldn't have any
incredible
downside
amount of
really.
trash on there.
Yeah.
The fact that they had a game called Inside Her Bracket Bedroom already on the eShop, and I have no idea what that game plays like, but the fact that someone at Nintendo saw that submission come in and said, "Yeah, that title's fine,"
I know,
it's just
strange.
wild to me. It's just wild.
Yeah. But I think
Honestly, it's a funny title, but it's not like a title I'd want to see on the eShop. You know what I mean?
But I think the strangest thing to me is like that PlayStation was banning these things for such a long time. And then like at the same time, they're even worse with shovelware than Nintendo. Like PlayStation has ones where it's like, the stuff that happens on Xbox where you boot the game up and you press a button like 100 times and you get a platinum trophy. And that's all the game is.
You got like Life of Black Tiger and stuff like that. Stuff does also exist on the Xbox every now and then, but there's some iconic ones on PlayStation.
Yeah, so I don't know, like,
Donkey
but
Kong.
again, I was like pretty surprised that they have this on Nintendo. I was like, I don't know if it's full frontal nudity, Swinny, but it's like definitely boobies and stuff like that. I was like, okay, like I don't know. It's just so weird to me thinking that they were censoring like blood in the 90s in Mortal Kombat. Now they're like showing anime boobies. It's so kind of weird.
And to be clear, like I don't want the policy of you can't show any nudity at all is not one that I would want to see applied. It's more the games that are clearly like anyone looks at it and goes, okay, that is not something that should probably be on the show. I'm talking like there's games that use nudity
like The Witcher.
Yeah, like The Witcher and like Fahrenheit and like there's games that use nudity but they don't use it. Like,
But are they going to ban that? That's the thing.
That's what I was going to say.
I don't know.
Where do you
I
draw
don't
the
know.
line?
That's
Yeah, I mean,
more interesting.
because then it becomes
Yeah.
kind of, I would almost say, hypocritical if those games don't get banned because
No, I
they
don't
do
agree.
contain
Don't agree.
frontal nudity and stuff.
Well,
And
they can judge whatever they want. Really, it's their policy.
ultimately, of course, yeah. But I'm saying, from the sake of consistency, where do you draw that line? And by the way, I don't disagree. I don't give a shit if this stuff is there or not. I think get rid of it. It doesn't feel like it belongs there. But at the same time, what Nintendo is now and the kind of games you can play on it and play on under the Nintendo banner, if you could call it that, is totally different to what used to be.
Yeah, it's surprising, right?
In previous years, completely different. It's a whole new thing.
So my PSA to anyone that wants these games,
Go for play 'em.
download them now because they're probably going to get removed.
I better get 'em.
If you want to play,
That's interesting. You reckon they get removed?
I reckon they will remove games. 100%.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I reckon if you want the elves fantasy hentai puzzle, you should probably download it on your Switch now.
But I really wanted the Christmas one because Christmas is around the corner.
Too bad.
Be a really good birthday present for my girlfriend. Damn it.
Well, Indigo, you've got a story to talk to us about the Analogue Pocket.
That's right. Like always, there's been a lot of news in Analog for a long running time. But highly esteemed Mr. core developer Jatago has announced that he's going to be putting DRM, and I'm really interested to hear what you think about this, DRM on his Analogue Pocket cores in an effort to increase his Patreon. So following on from his Ghosts and Goblins arcade core, which was released in the last week, he posted on his Patreon, and I do want to quote like the whole thing. So you guys, this is pretty much the whole thing, like in terms of the whole context, what he's doing and why he's doing it, to be fair to him, and like his little team. So there's a quote, as you know, there was an update on the Pocket on Tuesday. You may have also noticed a small print when you press the analog button. This is your chip ID and it is unique for your device. Although the JTG&G core works on any Pocket, my plan is to compile the cores to work only on Patron's Pocket devices. Why? Because I want to hire a second engineer to speed up development. See how long the coverage analysis on the Neo Geo Pocket is taking? Another reason is that the Pocket has proven to be hard to design for and it requires a lot of testing. I know that people don't like when a file is locked to a device, neither do I. We may release free compilations with time, but in the short to medium term, closed compilations pay for development and we all need the development. What do we need to do? Just load the JTGNG core and press the analog button. Write down the hexadecimal string in small print at the bottom of the screen and send it to his email address. You need to include your Patreon username and or email used to register in Patreon. And this is like sent the whole like little tiny Analogue Pocket community into like a crazy flurry, man. It's been pretty wild, actually.
Very first question I had,
Yes.
is this the first time something like this has been done in the FPGA kind of community?
Really good
or
question.
Like the
really good
Mister
question.
or anything like that?
So, putting a huge context and like massive step back, right? I think in the whole emulator space, very early on, there was like no one doing stuff like paying for emulators, right? Then stuff like Bleem came along and there were people paying. And I think the whole community was like, that's kind of bullshit. Like to lock it all up, right? From the start, Mister's always been a bit weird and different. Like it's very common to have patrons and Patreon accounts and, okay, you get something earlier than everyone else. But it's like 2 weeks. Like you'll get it first, then 2 weeks later it'll come out to everyone. Jatago is like pushed it even further before. So when he was doing the whole CPS2 stuff, when they were still working on it, and so CPS2 again is the Capcom Play System, so that's like Street Fighter Alpha and all those arcade games, Street Fighter Alpha 2 I should say. When he was doing all of that work, it was all kind of locked in a beta core. But I think everyone was a bit like, well, it's not finished yet, it's only going to be for patrons, right? This is like another step beyond that because it's not even really saying like, hey, this is just while we're working it out. This is just like anything that's going on the Pocket specifically is only going to be for patrons. And maybe we'll release it. Maybe we won't. And man, people are like blowing up on this. So his patron was like 3,000 patrons. And he wanted it to get to like 4,000. And it's only been like 100 or 200 people that have joined since he started doing the Pocket stuff. And I think it's kind of like annoying him or something like that. Just from like reading some of the other posts that he's posted. But I think it's going to backfire. Like I'm actually going to follow his numbers. But man, like there's been like 100 plus comments on the Reddit subreddit on Analogue Pocket. And pretty much anyone who's like on his Patreon is like, I'm quitting his Patreon. Like, fuck this.
Jeez.
Like, I'm pissed at this. This is bullshit. Like, I want to support this guy, but this is not cool. Like, yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I can see where the idea has come from. Obviously, if you want to pay someone to come on board to help, that money has to come from somewhere, right? But I just look at the verification process where you have to email them and with the details, like what happens if he just decides, I'm not doing this Patreon anymore, and then suddenly people can't verify that stuff anymore.
Yeah.
Like you have that problem with big DRM systems that people hate, that the verification process goes offline and suddenly people can't authenticate and stuff, and suddenly this is a manual process. It just feels like that could go bad in who knows how many years' time if he decides to move on.
But once you have the file, right? It's just that he creates.
But what if you lose the file but you still like?
Tough
Because
shit.
that's the
You're
thing
right.
is like, I don't know how his Patreon works. Surely if you pledge for a month, or do you need to keep pledging?
Yeah.
There's a difference there as well.
What is it?
Is it a
Stated.
one-time cost
You could
to
join
get
up.
access?
Well, I've also
Pledge for a
got
month.
2 Analogue Pockets. So it's like, do I have to put both? Do I have to subscribe twice? Do I have to be in a certain tier? There's
like,
a lot of questions.
It's a funny thing, but in the end, I don't know. Like I don't know how to put it. Someone's working to create something which generally there's this expectation and entitlement that it's going to be for free. Everyone will get it for free, but there's people working hard for this stuff, and there's people that are potentially, going part-time with their jobs or something to focus on this. I don't know.
They're
There's different-
full-time. Like, so this is,
different use cases, or it's a full-time
again,
thing, right?
like trying to be fair to him
So,
and his team. It's like, he's
to be
literally
fair, it's
said,
like,
I want to hire another person. to make
yeah,
things
and
go
is it
faster.
that bad to try to somehow get something for your time and effort to be able to pay your bills and shit? I don't think it is. I mean, it's only jarring and shit because it's not common practice, and now everyone's jumping up and down about it. Join the thing, pledge $5, get yourself the core. What's the fucking big deal? I don't really think it's.
I mean, it's interesting perspective, Mike. I think for me, it's like the sense of the community as well. Like, it's amazing to see so many people who have been subscribers, supposedly. Like, at least that's what they're saying. And we'll see it with the numbers. Because I think it's like monthly, the Patreon's numbers change. That they're like, hey, I've supported this dude, but I'm like really unhappy about this approach. And I'm not going to support him anymore. Like, I don't care.
If those are legit people, okay, they're probably the people that I would listen to, if that makes sense. People who haven't paid a single cent to this guy or to any of this kind of stuff, I don't even give a shit about their opinion in that sense. It's just entitlement, right? They just want free shit.
Yeah.
But people that have been supporting this guy, if they're legit about having supported him in the past and they want to back out, okay, I would love to really understand why is it such a big deal? I mean, you're already supporting the guy. All you need to do is send an email and get your shit.
Well, that's, as Indigo said, the sense of community and feeling like it's a wrong from a moral standpoint.
Yeah,
almost.
I do get that, because this has traditionally been an open source thing, hasn't it? It's free for all.
This is where
someone works for.
This is where
It's
Mister's
not
been
a
weird.
business.
Because it's not really open source. Like, Mister has actually got some real big problems with the way that they describe their licenses. So there's some parts of the system that they don't share with people, like the code. They just release it like it's like a binary, right? Which is totally against that open source spirit. Like, you can't just do things from scratch in the Mister space. It's very personality driven. I don't really like to get too into it because I think it's just like school politics. It's like boring shit to me, like, and stupid. But the other thing about it is, Mike, he's built off the back, and his team, of so many people that have released things for free. Like, so much of their work, the foundation of it was actually based on MAME, the software emulator, right? Because those people did a lot of work to get those emulators working well. Now, he's, standing on the shoulders of giants, but then it's like, everything I'm doing, you have to pay to me and my team. It's like,
yeah. Well, I can see why the community would be pissed about something like that.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like the quid pro quo. People are like, if I get it early, yeah, okay. I think everyone felt like it was fair. It's like, I'm getting it a bit early. Other people can't get it. If you tell your mate, hey, can you send me that thing? That, you can do it. It works, whatever. But I think this has pushed it too far for most people. I think personally it seems too much, but I'm not a subscriber, so
any idea the actual costs that might be involved with this in the future, or we don't know that stuff?
What do you mean by that?
As in, what would it actually cost someone to get access to the core? We're talking $15, $5. What are we talking about?
$4.50 Australian per month.
Yeah, the part that makes me, as much as it is a bit icky to think about, is that these people have already spent ridiculous amount of money on these bloody Analogue Pockets as devices and have no issue with that part of it. It's obviously, I think, almost part of me is like, maybe try to find a better way to handle it, but it's like, I'm trying to think of like a way to make it more optional, but it's like you still have to, I don't know, like maybe you have to access it through the Patreon, but it's via like the free pledge or whatever, the free tier of Patreon, but then it's all advertised around, but please submit the project. I don't know how it works, with that. It just feels like there's a better way to handle it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and like, I think we're all on the same page that he's entitled to run it however he wants.
Yeah.
Like, do whatever you want, dude, right? But how people receive it is also their right to receive it however they want. And it's been very seemingly negative for the most part. Like, I'm probably being super fair in saying that, because it's been honestly pretty extremely negative. Like,
I'm keen to see where this goes, because I see it's really interesting. It's like watching the Serial podcast. The more information I learn about this, the more I change my view, and I go back from this is bullshit to fair enough, and it keeps going back and forth. So I'm actually kind of keen to see where this lands and if people do leave or not. But I find knee-jerk reactions like this fascinating, because I was having this argument with my girlfriend the other day about how she will not acknowledge or think about stuff that is a huge cost of money. So for example, if we're trying to build a house as an example, and she's mucking around delaying shit and not thinking about it, it's costing thousands of dollars literally every month extra. But doesn't think about that, doesn't care about that, but she will get pissy at me because I leave a light bulb on and it wastes like half a cent of electricity. You know what I mean? It's that disconnect where it's completely fucking irrational, like super irrational, right? If you want to like talk about wasting,
to call her completely.
I hope she's not watching this, but it is. It's fucking irrational, man. So danger, Will Robinson. So it's one of those things where I'm like, I fucking get it, but like, yeah.
All right, the last one I want to be clear. So this is the Neo. Is it the Neo Geo core?
No, this is all.
Handling?
No. So he doesn't have anything to do with the Neo Geo core. This is all of his arcade cores. If he ever wants to try to get like CPS 2 on there, like I'd be super interested in that. He's done a lot of like. He's one of the main devs. This is Mister.
Is this any of the like the Super Nintendo,
No.
the Nintendo stuff?
Okay. No, they're all free.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. That's all. I just want to be clear. Like, if anyone listening, does it affect them? You know, wanting to get into this?
No. So you can get like obviously the device came with like Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, Game Gear, and then Sega Mega Drive, Sega Master System is now on there. NES, NES, they're all free. And then you know like these arcade cores, which I don't think are ever going to be the biggest on the platform, because I think it's more of a console-y type thing. Unless CPS2, if he somehow figures out a way to port that.
So wait, so a lot of these arcade cores might be specific to games as well, is that right?
No, they're totally specific to it. Like,
so do you have to go through the verification email process for every single one?
No, I think you submit your chip ID, your name, and everything like that. And when he's building them, it'll be on there.
Okay.
But then there's also weird shit. It's like, wait, can people extract your email? Can they extract your chip ID? Like, what's the security on it, right?
I mean, might do like hashed emails and stuff. But
who knows, right? But I mean, the chip IDs will need to be, maybe they can hash it, but like, I don't know. It's ultimately, I'm a bit like, you know, the other elephant in the room is like, man, like everyone's just downloading these ROMs, right? It's kind of a bit weird. It's like, you got these people who are like thieves, and then like, you have to pay for this DRM. It just doesn't, you know, like some people are even comparing him to Team Executor or Executioner.
Executor, yeah.
Yeah, who did the whole Nintendo Switch, you know, like piracy stuff. And I was like, whoa, that's like, when you start getting compared to that, teams like that, it's like, that's not a good comparison. But it's pretty close, so.
Well,
there you go.
I think that wraps us up for our news stories this week. But there is a lot left over, and we might pick up a couple of the scraps in our big sizzler wrap up. Any headlines that call out to you guys from our list we've got in front of us?
There are some, but I'll let you go into go because I just need to check on the cat.
This is the biggest one, that like the Steam Deck is now like no reservations in the States and other regions it's available, and you can get the dock now as well. So some history for people who are like Australia or live in Australia like us. Valve hates Australia with a passion. Like, Australian government has sued them multiple times. They've had to change like the way that Steam itself works because of it. Like, there's a whole bunch of stuff that they just hate Australia genuinely. And I think also they're relatively like a small company in a way, right? With like small staff and everything like that. So releasing in Australia is a pain in the ass, and we still can't order the Steam Deck in Australia, which just absolutely gives me the shits. But it's much more likely to happen soon, given that now it's like you can just order it in the States. Like, people are literally ordering it, getting it like a week later, which is incredible. So
yeah, this is great for everyone that wanted one and wasn't early on the bandwagon to be able to get one, as you know, however the distributed it. But it does make me hope that, you know, the announcement is in the near future for this stuff. I know Mike's obviously, both you and Mike are really holding out for that.
yeah.
But everything, the other Steam Deck stuff, you know, was pretty funny. So how they had some of their social ads advertising a Switch emulator in the screenshots,
That's
which was
crazy,
pretty wild. Now the actual icon for it is pretty, like, if you don't know what it is, it doesn't look like it's a Nintendo Switch emulator. I don't know what it's called. It's like Yuzu or something.
Yuzu
It's
or
like,
something, yeah. Yazoo.
So
Yuzu,
they very quickly removed that ad, which makes sense. But yeah, Mike, we're just saying that that the Steam Deck, you can now get a Steam Deck in the US pretty easily.
Yes, I did. I did see. There's no reservations, but still nothing in Australia, which sucks. Big Donkey Kong balls.
It feels like it's been out for a lot longer than it has. Like, it feels like it's been out for years now, Mike. But it's only February this year, so pretty much like March. And most people couldn't get it.
Definitely feels a bit longer.
Like, most people couldn't get it. So it's only relatively recently that, like, you can kind of get it in the States if you want. So I don't know. I'm really hoping that I'm sure it's through EB Games. Like, even Saturday.
Just like last.
I've got like an alert now. Anything that EB Games posts, it's like prompts me now, right? Because I couldn't be
That
bothered
must
writing
be
a bot
annoying
for it.
as hell.
No, they actually don't post as much as I thought they would, right?
Okay.
But they actually posted something on Saturday. It was like with Valve, and I was like, "Holy shit!" Like, I'm gonna get this straight away. And then it was like the Valve Index. They had that back up on sale, right? So yeah, I'm still toying with like which one I'm gonna get: 64, 256, or 512. Depends on the price in the end. So, but I'll definitely be picking up a Steam Deck for sure, like guaranteed.
Same, 100%.
So maybe 64
so
because I
good.
just know I'm just gonna get it straight away. So, but yeah, I'm looking forward to it, man. Like, hopefully it will come out soon. But yeah, the emulator thing. I wonder if they're gonna get their ass kicked for that, or like, it seems very strange, man. Like, would Nintendo give them a call? Maybe they're legal or something like that. They did take it down.
me,
straight
a
away.
Nintendo.
One of the stories I quite liked was Pilotwing 64. So we knew it was coming to the Nintendo Switch. It's coming this week on the 13th of October. But I don't know if you guys saw the trailer for it. Check it out. It's really bizarre because, well, the audio is the important part.
Oh,
so
okay,
we can't.
okay.
We
Yeah,
can't
you can see my face.
It is
You're like, he's going to
like they base just the voiceover is just, it's a choice. It's very, I find it very funny, and it's like a game like Pilotwing 64. You think, oh, it's going to be fun music, but it's almost like, I don't know, like porno music with a voiceover that's quite questionable. It's I actually like it. It's I like when they go the extra mile.
It. Yeah, it's crazy.
They go the extra mile
It's
when
crazy.
they no reason to.
That's so weird. Why would they do that?
So check out the Pilotwing 64 Switch commercial. But
Top comment on YouTube. Whoever is doing the trailer's voice needs a raise.
This is one of the first games that's made me go, oh, maybe I need to get that expansion pack thing because there's because there's no other real way to play that game outside of emulation, you know. So it's been so long since I played that game. So
Nice.
So yeah.
Like, really quickly, like, PS5's been jailbroken. Pretty interesting. So jailbreak just means you can install things and you can get to the file system outside of, you know, the confines that you're meant to be in normally. You can't actually start games on it. Like, it's a bit convoluted the way it all works. But it does show the difference between, like, Sony and Microsoft in this regard. Like, I know that, like, Sony's definitely a bigger target than PlayStation, but the fact that the Xbox, like, One and the Series X still haven't really been hacked is pretty amazing, like, to this day. So, yeah, like, it's, I don't know. I hope for Sony's sake it doesn't, like, open up and, you know, have a long-term impact on PlayStation. Because, man, it really killed the Vita, and it also probably killed the growth of the PSP. So if the PS5 properly got hacked, like, that could be, like, a really bad situation for Sony.
And that stuff also has can have a flow-on impact to just normal players that aren't interested in stuff. So, for instance, with the Xbox 360, one of the big reasons for the next generation Xbox One for them moving to basically achievements, right?
Yeah.
Achievements are unlocked when you're online on the Xbox One onwards. You can't unlock them offline. Now, you can unlock the requirements and they'll unlock when you go online, but a lot of that was to combat the people hacking the 360 and doing that. And it actually screws up a lot, and it actually screws people out.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Yeah, and so there's like, it just kind of just messes with the whole ecosystem when people do it. And look, I'm not a fan in general of consoles that are currently on the shelves being hacked and stuff. It's just not my thing. But look, it is as you said, it's almost surprising the Xbox One and Series S specifically hasn't happened, because we know that people use was a RetroArch that for the console for the emulation part. And
yeah, but that's approved.
No, but what I'm saying is I'm surprised that with the interest that draws people in, that there hasn't been more interest to really, or they haven't been able to break that one open. So for other reasons.
Yeah, I watched a really, really interesting GDC talk from the hardware engineer behind Xbox and the whole security architecture. And it's crazy what they're doing compared to everyone else. It's like every single code like that's executed has to have like verified authority. Like it's just the way that they've architected is really crazy. I think also combined with they're a smaller target. Like if you're gonna spend 1,000 hours trying to crack open an Xbox when you could do a PlayStation, that's like 3 times the amount of people on it, or maybe 2 times the amount. Yeah. So it's also online games, like playing against hacked consoles, like screws you up.
Mike, anything you want to?
Yeah, I actually really like the look of Need for Speed Unbound. It looks really interesting. Yeah, I love the art style. It's pretty unique. I mean, I'm trying to remember, there was a game on PlayStation 1 or 2 that sort of had well, it wasn't quite the same art style, but it had sort of that cartoon overlay. Do you guys remember the game 13?
Yeah, talked about
kind
it
of that. Yeah, the same sort of. But this mixes 3D with that as well, which just is really unique.
There was a Sega racing game that used like cel shaded cars and stuff.
I think it was that. It was some. Done by Sega, but I remember that. So this could be really cool.
But I mean, it's more like the effects and the characters and stuff.
Yeah,
The cars still look
3D and stuff.
Auto Modelista was the.
That's it.
No, it wasn't Sega. It was Capcom.
That's the one. That's right. Yeah, I remember that. So yeah, this looks really, really cool, and it's got very Need for Speed Underground vibes to it as well. And that's the probably maybe my favorite, and I think in the community, it's Need for Speed Underground 2 is almost the favorite game in the series.
As someone that hasn't played that many of the more modern Need for Speeds, it feels like the last game that made any kind of real big impact was, or at least modest impact, was like the Most Wanted remake. That feels like
maybe that,
when Criterion, I think that was the Criterion one. Whereas I think they've really struggled to make a massive mark. Obviously, the casual gamers will always buy these games, but they're just generally, they come out and you forget about them, or the general community forgets about them. So I really want them to have a win with that series, because I do love the original games. So, well, last one from me was there's a new Catan game coming to consoles, which I am super pumped by, because I love the Catan game that was on Xbox 360 from Big Huge Games, who worked on Kingdoms of Amalur, so a weird connection there. But I haven't been a big fan of a lot of the mobile Catan games. There's one I play all the time, but they try to do live service stuff with them, and I'm not interested. I just want to play Catan against CPUs or maybe online. But it's so there's a new version coming out to basically all platforms, but not Switch. Switch already has a Catan game on it, but I don't think it's beloved. So this is a different developer, a different game. So Catan console edition.
Shame not on Switch. It'd be really cool on Switch.
Last thing from me was just the Splatfest. The next Splatfest for Splatoon is announced. So these are meant to happen like normally monthly. That's always been the cadence for Splatoon 1 and 2. So people are already going, wait, what's going on? We had a Splatfest in September, but not October. We won't have a Halloween one. And then there's, this Pokemon collaboration. The one thing that's interesting is, and I actually went back to the Splatoon 3 Direct and watched it again. Like pretty much almost the whole thing. It's amazing how much detail was in that. Like it's stuff that I've like, oh, okay, they haven't actually released that yet. So there's a mode in, Salmon Run, Swinny, where you're like, it's like the PvE horde mode, not whore mode. The horde mode.
Salmon Run.
I wish we could say horde
Salmon
mode.
Run, horde mode.
Is the episode title. But with Salmon Run, there's a new thing called Big Run where it like takes over levels and the plaza and stuff like that. So I wonder if there might be something this month around that, because they said they're going to be every 2 months, those things. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. But I do like the Splatfests. I'm going to try to ease off playing Splatoon and just really play it like crazy during the
So
Splatfest.
what are the choices? Do we know what the choices
yes.
are?
So the three, because there's 3 choices now for the Splatfest. It's grass type, fire type, water type. That's going to be the choices. So it's the first time they've proper done a Pokemon collaboration, which is pretty cool. So it just also shows how massive the game has become. That Splatoon is going to be advertising Pokemon. I mean, like that is crazy to me to think. So.
And you showed us that there's like a Google Splatoon thing, isn't there?
Yeah, I think it's off now, but like
That was really cool. Yeah, I tried that when you sent it.
Yeah, like where is it? Like if you sent Splatoon, was it Splatoon 3? I think
You just had to Google Splatoon.
I don't know. Oh yeah, look, it's
There it
still
is. Yeah,
on. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
You could do it.
Like it's
That's really, really cool.
So cool.
like how insanely big is this game that they've done this? Like this is so weird.
Obviously, Google gets a lot of shit, and some of it rightly so, but when they do these things, they're always really cool.
Yeah. So I'm happy my little Splatoon universe. There's a lot happening there. So the game will get a lot of support, obviously. Well, I can't wait to see the sales of it.
Any last thing you want to chat about, Mike?
Nope, nothing from me.
All right. Well, I think it's time to get to our special feature at the end of the show. First time in a long time. We're going to quickly chat. We're probably not going to spend too long about it. About how we're all tracking on our 2022 gaming resolutions. So I actually completely forgot to post in, like I planned, what our gaming resolutions were, but I'm sure we can all think of them off the top of our head.
remember them.
I'm sure we can remember off the top of our head.
Mine were a bit tricky, but I'll try to remember them.
So
Well, I've
who
got it
wants
in the
to have-
tab. I've got it in the tab if you want to see it.
Who wants to chat about it first then?
I'll get it out of the way. So I had 3. One was to finish The Witcher 3. The other one was to finish
Clock
Mass
it.
Effect Andromeda, to clock them. And one was to clock a modern Assassin's Creed. Out of which, to keep the story short, I have only completed one, which is I've completed Assassin's Creed Origins.
But you've completed one. You
So
can
you
knock
clocked
it
it.
off.
You got-
That's
I-
awesome.
Yeah,
Why are you
I'll
so
knock it
sad
off.
about it?
Well, I don't know. Just
I
That's
was
one more
shocked
than you
about that.
completed
why am I
last
sad
year.
about it? Because it's the 9th of bloody October.
You're already tracking
This
better
is why
than
I'm
last
sad
year,
about it.
dude. Like, be happy.
I
that's true. I
genuinely
guess it
thought
is
you weren't going to
better,
do any
but
of these.
No, I did. So and look, if The Witcher, if the update came out, I probably would have done that too. But it's now at the point where, you know what, it's taking too bloody long. I don't know when it's going to come out. I'm just going to finish it as is with the
Oh
current.
no, Mike has to use his fancy PC to play, or Switch to play The Witcher.
Well, here's the thing. I'm kind of slightly confused. There's definitely not going to be an update on the Switch. I know that for a fact. I don't see how it can possibly be updated because it already
No, of
runs
course
like
not. Of course
us
it's
at
not
the
gonna
lowest possible resolution. And there's an update for PlayStation and Xbox, but I actually don't recall now. Is there an update for PC as well?
I can't remember. I
I
can't
actually
remember.
don't
if
think
PC's
there
getting
is.
anything.
So what the hell am I even waiting
Well,
for?
it
Because
doesn't
I'm
need
going to
an
play it on
update for
PC and
Why is it
Switch.
getting an update for PC?
No, I thought maybe
It's already updated.
Maybe they. Well, yeah, but I mean, you can already
It's a
play it at
PC.
60 on consoles and stuff. So I'm like,
If then maybe if
What are
there's
they?
any like new quests they add in or something like side stuff or anything, they'll get
Oh,
updated.
I
with
don't
that,
think they're
but,
doing
yeah.
any of that.
I don't think so. I'm just saying if they're bundling in anything like that. But yeah, no,
Alright.
Mike, I think you're gonna have to get onto that Witcher 3. Because,
yeah, I think
knowing
that
you,
might actually be my next main thing. Cause
It's not going to come out
bloody
this
year
year,
to finish
I
it.
reckon. The next gen update, right?
And the thing's, Mike, if you start it and you're playing it, and then the update gets announced, then you'll just update the game you're playing already. You know.
Yeah,
So,
and then
unless
it
you're
won't
playing the
be
Switch one.
backwards compatible, so then I'll have to go start it from scratch. And I'm not doing that again because I started this game, no joke, fucking 5 times I reckon at least, and each time I've probably put in minimum 50 hours.
Oh yeah, and your Mass Effect Andromeda, you're failing that one early. You're not going to do it.
Look, it's still October, so who knows? But at the moment, the last time I played it, and again, that was the 5th time I started that game, maybe, or the 6th time across multiple platforms. And each time I get a little bit further, and I go, "Fuck this shit! I'm just not enjoying it." So
You're not going
I don't know,
to
we'll
finish
see.
it. You're not going to finish it.
probably not. We'll
So-
see. But I feel like I might be thick-headed enough to just go, "Nah, fuck it. I'm just gonna push through it."
Don't
We'll
say
see.
it. Don't say it.
We'll see.
Intergot, do you want to go next?
Yeah. So I had finished this story. So I beat World 23 of Ring Fit Adventure. So I'm like
Oh, you
halfway
did?
through.
Nice, man.
How much weight did you gain?
I
in the
haven't
process?
beaten it.
Oh, I thought you said you beat it.
No. This is what I need to do.
Okay, all right. I'll reverse that nicely.
Obviously, I said
I'm
that
like,
poorly
wow,
because
he's
you're both
done
very
it.
excited.
Kill your
done
Paul.
it.
How
But
much
how
weight have I
far did
gained?
you get? How far did you
I'm getting
get?
gains.
Yeah, how much
Well,
weight
it's-
did you
it's not
gain so
over
far
yet.
playing
The
that game?
The year's not over.
The irony.
I think I'm like halfway through or some ballpark like that. Maybe
And like what, 10 kilos heavier than when you started
oh,
playing the game?
massively. Yeah. I've gained heaps of COVID.
So I
weight.
shouldn't laugh because I'm the same. So
Yeah, why are you laughing at me being a fat ass? You fat ass. Yeah, I don't know.
fat ass.
I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do it. Honestly, like, yeah, it's gonna be borderline. I'm just checking now where
Why
I'm up
not?
to.
Is it hard or?
Pace to finish. Oh no, I just checked where I'm up to. Fuck, I'm only up to world 10, so I'm not even. Yeah.
Don't they then have like the entire thing again, but like with remixed stuff?
I actually have it. I can't show it on the screen because I haven't like set it up
I
properly.
know.
But yeah, no, you can do it 3 times over
Yeah.
before it
Okay.
like properly repeats. But everyone just considers beating World 23. So if I'm looking at it, it's like 1/3. I'm probably like about 1/3 through the game. And
Okay.
if I'm pacing myself to the end of the year, I should really be more like 2/3 through the game. So yeah, I don't know.
Does
if
that
I'm
mean
gonna
you'd
be
have
able
to play twice a day or something to catch up, or?
Yeah, I just have to play it like every day or something like that. So
Okay.
I don't know. I'm not going to get that one done, I don't think. The other one that I had to do is keep a positive ratio of clocked games divided by bought games. So that's actually tracking well. I'm on top of
Is
that.
it currently positive?
Yeah, it's positive. It's been
Nice,
positive almost
nice.
through the whole year. And I might go back to some games. The problem is, I'll probably get Bayonetta 3, Mario Rabbids, I'll definitely beat.
Mm-hmm.
And then, what was the other one? I can't remember.
God of War.
God of War. So I'll beat that. But Bayonetta 3, I don't know if I'll clock it or not. So I'm accumulating games that I'm not beating. So, and then the other one that it's going to be tricky is significantly play all of the 2022 Game Awards nominees.
I was thinking about that one
That's
because significantly is obviously something that is open to interpretation.
Yes.
Is that something where
Means no-
is a significant amount a third,
one.
a half, 3/4?
A third or
Play
more.
enough of it to know what
Yeah.
the game's all about.
Yeah.
I've got some hypothetical games. I think Elden Ring's a lock. Honestly, I think God of War Ragnarok's going to be a lock.
Yep.
I wouldn't be shocked, if Horizon Forbidden West is also there. They're like 3 out, and it's good. If you base it on like last year, it's 6. Then it gets flaky.
Tinykin?
I feel like Stray could be there. Like I don't think it should be, but I totally can imagine it being
This
there.
will never happen, right?
Yeah.
Imagine if Saints Row was there. Would you just say,
Nah.
I'm not playing
I'm
that?
not playing
I'm
it.
not
No
buying
way.
that. Like, I'd rather found my resolution. than
No way. Based on how people are receiving Gotham Knights, that's not going to be there. And then it's going to get really like dicey, I reckon. Like Xenoblade Chronicles 3 might make it. That was received really well. It will get discounted by the fact that some places don't go hard on the Nintendo Switch coverage. So I don't know. You know what I would hope to God is in the 6? Splatoon 3. And I'll be like, thank God. Done.
It could.
Put 1,000
And
hours
then
into
maybe
that
like-
bad boy.
Maybe Turtles, Shredder's Revenge. Get some games that I've like fucking fully played.
That'd be like the easiest one to mark
Actually,
off.
my dream lineup would be Elden Ring, Horizon, God of War, Stray,
So it's
Splatoon
basically
3,
any game you played.
and then Turtles. Like I'd be like, oh fuck, I'm done. I just gotta play God of War. That would be amazing if that happened. So I don't know when they announced the nominees though. That's the thing I'm nervous about. I'm like, shit.
Sometime in November.
Well, obviously, but how close is it to when Jeff's got his little event on? So
Which is the December the 8th. So
yeah. So that will be the tricky one. It depends how many games I need to kind of cover. So we'll
look,
see how I go.
that's obviously a very tough one. But I was gonna say you're tracking well, but then you do have to pick up the Ring Fit if you want to do
There's
that, I
risk.
guess.
There's risk.
Yeah, there's a risk.
If it's like Tunic or something like that, it's like, shit, what am I going to do?
All right. Well, my resolution. So as always, the Dark Souls level 1 run. I completed at the start of the year, so that was marked off, which was fun.
Yeah, that was crazy.
I'm going backwards in the list here, but complete my PS pile of shame. I've completed 8 out of the 13 PlayStation console exclusives, so not
good.
tracking great, but
pretty good.
it's something I can pick up, and I've got so many games in the works, but I just have to stick with some. Like for instance, I started Horizon Zero Dawn, but I'm like, okay, do I move on with that, or do I go back to Uncharted 2 and all this kind of stuff? So I'm bouncing between games. It also started some games that were on PS Plus at the time, but I can't access them anymore. So I'm like, well, do I just buy Medieval, to play through? Because I was like a third of the way through that game and stuff. So
hey, you haven't fully announced what these games are, right?
Well, I did last time.
Oh, you did? Okay, I don't remember you doing that.
Yeah, I mean, like,
Is
it's
Last
in the
of Us
tab.
on there?
It's in the tab if you want to bring it up, but it's I mean, in terms of the games I plan on playing, well, I don't know yet. I really don't know. Last of Us might not be on there, but I'm not sure. So
yeah,
but yeah, so 8 out of 13, not great if you look at it from a time standpoint, but I can get there. But
One and a half a month left.
The one that I actually really did try to catch up on is my try out every game added to Game Pass in 2022 resolution. So this one I'm currently sitting on. They added a lot of bloody games recently.
This is
a lot of bloody games.
Them.
So they've added 163 games to the service. There's one or two that are a bit kind of like, is it a full game, whatever. But it's 163 games. Of those, 135 I'm eligible to try out because most of them are because
I know, I picked up on that.
eligible. Most of them are because I've played them already. But there's a few that it's like they've been in Game Pass before, so I'm not interested in that. But it's like
wait, what's that rule? That's a weird rule. It's been on Game Pass before, so I'm not gonna. It's not included.
Nah. It's like, for instance, like the console version was already on there, and they had a PC version, but it was already on console, and it's like, nah, that's already on Game Pass.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's different. That's different.
So, of the 135, I've tried at 129. So, 96%.
I think
honestly,
it's fine.
This week I caught up on a lot. I played like 14 of the games I hadn't tried out yet. The unfortunate part is this
quite weak.
Some of those 6 games, like for instance, Deathloop's in there, Death Stranding's there. The games that I want to sit down and spend a lot more time with than
play properly.
I'm just going to play for 30 minutes, just mark it off. So I want to actually just actually give it a really good try. And I've only covered 89 of them on the show, so there's no way I'm going to be able to cover them all on the show, unfortunately.
But you played them.
I've got something in the works that might kind of, cover games in a more of a bulk fashion. We'll see what happens. And I've only completed 9 of them, so 9 of the 135. So yeah,
that's like Game Pass in a nutshell.
Yeah, so I'm really confident about the Game Pass one. The PlayStation one, we'll see.
Wait, what's the Game Pass? What's the technical writing? Because we get so crazy with this. Play every game.
Basically like try out every game that's added to the service in this year in 2022. Yeah,
but it's by your own definitions of what every game that's added.
Yeah, it's my resolution, so I can do it.
So fuck you.
It only really says does not include games previously played or EA Sports titles. Interesting.
Yeah, that was what I added right away at the end. But
maybe we should get the lawyer in to double check to audit you,
dude. Like I've played 129 of these bloody games, and there's probably but it's 3/4 of the way through. By the way they're tracking, it wouldn't surprise me if there's like 180 bloody games in by the end of the year. So
it's true. Blizzard, Activision Blizzard might get approved and they add their whole back catalogue.
Oh my god!
The 31st of December.
They go and add all the Call of Duties. That's going to be a hell of a time. But
just got to spend an hour each.
I'm freaking dreading that, man. Because they're good. I'm not saying they're bad games,
awesome.
but it's like going to be.
It's like 20 games, dude.
There's going to be so many because they might even add all like the old PC ones as well.
Go for it.
So and all
you
the
have to play
spin-offs.
Just installing them because they're like mega games, like the latest ones. Like you can't like get smaller versions of them. They're like 200 gig each.
This week I installed like a 90 gig game. Hated it within the first 15 minutes. Said bugger that, and I'm like, that was a 90 gig. Like, I didn't need to wait. It's like that's the process you
Poor
go
children
through.
in Africa are dying from the energy they're creating, so you can delete games.
Anyway, but yeah, look, I don't know how you guys are feeling, but it's I always like talking about the resolutions. It's fun.
I feel like I'm getting more like Mike on these resolutions though. I'm just like, if it's not vibing with me and stuff, I don't care.
Yeah, it's not like you're gonna lose your head or anything.
Personal resolution.
But I do like holding you
I've
to
ever
account.
fucking done any resolution.
I do like holding you to account though, Swinny.
Yes.
The only person that holds me to account is me.
You have to think of a new Dark Souls one for next year. Because you did this one way too easy.
Elden
No
Ring.
hit run.
Man,
No hit run.
Man, I already have my 2023 resolutions. picked
Whoa.
out, so
Is it about playing
Damn,
less games?
this
You
man
should
is-
adopt Mike's one. No achievements for the year. No completions. It's like no FAP for Swinny.
that.
No
Can I just talk quickly about something of that, right? One of the games I tried on Game Pass was like Paw Patrol Rally or
Oh,
something.
yeah. I saw
But
that
when
game,
I
right?
play a lot of these games, I don't want to unlock an achievement,
Why?
right? Because I don't want I don't care about having that game on my gamer card, and like I just don't want it whatever, right?
So
I'm
he's
like-
got to play the whole game.
Very
so
weird.
no, what I do is I check out. Okay, what's
OCD.
the first achievement's going to unlock? So it's almost like what you're saying, and so I'm like, okay, I complete one race. No, sorry, it's like complete a race, win a race. I'm like, okay, I'm going to come second in this race. I'm going to come second in
That's
this
sad,
race,
dude. That's sad.
and it said don't use a skill. So this game, right? Think about a racing game on a controller. It has, controls have triggers. This game doesn't use the triggers to accelerate.
Yeah,
I got
it's for
stuck
kids.
in a wall, and I'm like, how do I reverse? And I go to press the X button for some reason to reverse because whatever, and it unlocked an achievement.
That's awesome.
So now I've got a Paw Patrol on my rally
So
on
now
my
you got to
back.
play Paw Patrol and beat it.
No, I don't
and
have to
get
play it,
1,000.
but now it's like a anyway. But
Oh, man.
sorry for that sidetrack. All right, well, I guess it's time to wrap up the show. Next week is episode 100. I don't know what we're going to do yet. I don't know if we're going to do anything.
Pop
Yeah.
open some champagne.
Some champers.
Maybe we should ditch the whole show and just do a tier
Brewskis.
list of all the show titles. S tier titles.
We'll see what the news is like next week.
Nah, we just have to ditch it. Doesn't matter what happens. It's probably the biggest news ever. Like the Saudi wealth fund has bought Nintendo. So it's like, nah, fuck that. It's our 100th
Man,
episode. We
if,
don't
if
care.
that happens, it will be like, screw that. We're redoing the Kemco tier list again for the episode 100.
Yeah, we could do that.
All right. Well, there are lots of games coming out, but unless there's anything you guys know that we're talking about next week, I think it's time to say goodbye.
All right, bye-bye.
And
Adios,
the show.
everyone.
Catches.